Next up, we've got disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Iannone, Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Check 354324 made out to my spouse, HR 2012-04 in camera, as I worked as an agent, and 354069, which is the same company that I worked for the agent, and it was a check to them.
Okay. Councillor Wing.
Yes, in our capital budget, page 86 at tab 7, the Battlefield School property. I own abutting properties, and I'm going to also, for the same reason, declare on F 2012-27 the Niagara Falls Soccer Club. I'm a proponent of a project which proposes an alternative use for those same funds.
Okay. Councillor Morocco.
Yes, Your Worship. Check number 354045 is issued to my spouse.
Okay. Councillor Pierangelo.
Your Worship, thank you. There's a reimbursement check under my name. It's check number 354189.
Okay, Councillor Terrio. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. On an in-camera item, L 2012-14, an item that had something to do with a property, a leased property on Shirk Road. I live adjacent to that property. And also on the sports tourism policy, anything in regards to the Clarkson Cup. I was the host hotel last year. Declare a conflict because I may bid on it if it comes or goes again.
Okay, thank you. Any other declarations? Okay, and myself, checks number 354242 and 354298, checks written to myself as well. Okay, thank you very much. First up, we have deputations and presentations, and this, we're looking at National Access Awareness Week. And I understand we've got representatives from the city's Disability Advisory Committee. They're going to be asking for a proclamation. Is there going to be a presentation as well? Okay, we'll ask the clerk to speak on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The last week of May, beginning of June, is traditionally National Access Awareness Week, and as most of you around the table are aware, the city has had an active and a very proactive Mayor's Disability Advisory Committee going back to 1997 when it was started under Mayor Wayne Thompson at the time, and it has continued to this day, and in fact it's now legislated to municipalities over 10,000 persons. I was the staff liaison in 1997, and I continue to be the staff liaison to this date because the committee won't let me leave, but I'm ably assisted by Jason McLean, our Health and Wellness Coordinator, who's here this evening as well. I'd also like to mention the committee members who are in attendance. Our chair, Paisley Janbury Poole, who's been the chair for a number of years and does a wonderful job. Angie Dumel, who's been on the committee for years. And tonight we're actually recognizing one of our own committee members, and although that may seem self-serving, in this case it certainly isn't. Tonight we're recognizing Brian Kahn, who I'm not sure how long Brian's been on our committee, probably at least 10 years, maybe longer. But Brian, part of his background with the Ontario March of Dimes is that he's done accessibility audits throughout North America. So to have him on our committee is really a coup. And in fact, he's been a benefit not only to our committee but to this entire municipality, because we've called on Brian's expertise in a number of our municipal facilities. McBain Center, the Gale Center, the Scotiabank Convention Center, and even the Niagara Falls History Museum, which is slated to open in July. The committee has met with the architects, city staff, proponents on all of those projects, but really Brian is the driving force because he has the expertise. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think we would have some of the accessibility features that we currently have in a number of our facilities. And most importantly, Brian has provided this service without any cost to the municipality. So if we were to hire a consultant to do these sort of assessments, you'd be looking at in the neighborhood of probably $15,000, $20,000. So for that alone, I think the municipality should be very grateful to Brian. I think through watching him operate and being involved in a lot of these audits with him, Jason and myself have become almost de facto experts here at City Hall, considering the fact that, we're not building guys by trade, but, we're often the ones who are called upon to identify accessibility requirements and to make suggestions on how to make a facility even more accessible. And, Brian is very good in the sense that he's reasonable, he's realistic under budget parameters and under existing buildings, but even the small things make him happy. We did some consultation on the new Niagara Falls History Museum, and he was just tickled pink when he saw that in the public washrooms there are some grab bars in the urinals. That made him his day, because we don't think to incorporate those measures. It's often decided, well, let's have a designated washroom for the people who need it, as opposed to taking our existing washrooms and trying to make them as accessible as possible. Because, as you know, our population is getting older, and a lot of people consider themselves able-bodied, but to just have that grab bar next to the urinal is one of those accommodations that is relatively cheap and should be accommodated in almost all of our washrooms. So Brian is also, as Council should remember, he also provided your training on the customer service standard, which was a requirement under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities. He did that a couple of years ago downstairs, you may recall. So he's an invaluable resource. I don't think we would have accomplished as much without him. So even though he's a member of our committee, it's well deserved that he gets this award. And I guess I would ask the mayor to maybe go out into the horseshoe and present that award to Brian.
Super. Thank you, Brian. On behalf of City Council, all the residents of Niagara Falls, all the people that benefit because of the hard work and commitment that you do, we say thank you, we salute you. It's just a small token of our appreciation, but you can't even guess the amount of people that you would impact by the decisions you've made before they needed to be implemented and utilized. So on behalf of all of us, we want to say thank you. Yes, why don't you step to the mic, Miss Chandry? Come forward.
I usually forget anything, but it is the Pat Cummings Award.
We can't hear you. Can you come up to the microphone, please? Thanks, Paisley. Come on up to the microphone.
What's going on? All in favor?
Yeah, we're all in favor.
Can't even reach this little thing. Dean doesn't usually forget anything, Mr. Mayor, and he did an extremely good job. But this is the Pat Cummings Award that we are presenting tonight, that we're very proud of the services that Alderman Pat Cummings gave to us in the beginning. And so we have this honor, and that's why we're extending it tonight to Brian.
Thank you very much for the reminder. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Paisley. Yes, I mean, I think as time passes, a number of people may not know who Patrick Cummings was, but he was obviously a leader in our municipality as far as accessibility, and he was the first council representative on that committee when Wayne asked him to be the chair in 1997, and he was an excellent chair till his untimely passing. So the only last order of business for us, as is tradition, is to get council to pass the proclamation, which I'll read very quickly. Whereas National Access Awareness Week began in 1987 as a result of Rick Hansen's Man in Motion tour, and whereas this designated week allows communities to promote the need for greater barrier-free accessibility in buildings, on modes of transportation, and in public places, and whereas the week also promotes awareness of issues affecting the disabled, accomplishments by the disabled community, and goals for the future, and whereas the City's Disability Advisory Committee would like the week of May 27th to June 2nd, 2012, proclaim National Access Awareness Week in the City of Niagara Falls, and then we ask that Council proclaim that. And one final thing, so Paisley doesn't accuse me of forgetting, we will have our annual barbecue in recognition of the week actually next week on June 6th here at City Hall.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannoni. Any discussion of the motion? And we'll call the vote. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, now, there were a couple of items downstairs in our other meeting that we are bringing upstairs, but they will happen later on in the meeting. So we're now going into the... Yes, Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I know it says budget matters are coming up at this time, but the Niagara Soccer Club indoor facility, obviously there are people here. We've debated this back and forth on numerous occasions, and there is a formal request in writing to defer any decision with respect to the report on that, which is on the agenda. And I don't think it's necessary to get into a long debate on this, but I would move deferral for the 60 days as requested by the club.
Okay, we have a motion for deferral of the item regarding the soccer club. The motion for deferral is non-debatable. We'll go straight to a vote.
We have a recorded vote, please.
Okay, it's been requested that we have a recorded vote, which means everybody's vote will be written down and recorded.
Okay, for the deferral, Councillor Wing. Oh, sorry, yes. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Iannoni?
Yes.
Councillor Morocco?
Yes.
Councillor Maves?
Yes.
Councillor Carrio?
Yes.
Councillor Gates?
Yes.
Councillor Peter Angelo?
Yes.
Mayor Diodati?
In favor.
Okay, the matter's deferred.
Okay, the matter's deferred. We appreciate all of you coming out, and hopefully in a couple of months we'll be able to deal with the matter. So thank you very much for everyone coming out. So after the budget, then we're going to deal with the two items?
Those two items from the committee of the whole application.
Okay, okay. We have to do a presentation. We have to do a presentation. Your call. Yeah. I was singing Kurt. Very good, thanks.
Next item on the agenda for Council's consideration is the 2012 capital budget. And I know that Mr. Harrison, our acting CAO, has a presentation ready for us. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. I guess it doesn't matter what seat I sit in, I still clear the room when I get up for these presentations. Anyways, tonight we're going to be dealing with the capital budget. You have the budget binder that was provided to you last week. This really is a quick overview, and then we can get into discussions of basically the projects and any questions you may have. This year, the budget process for the capital was a significant year of transition. Particularly, we talked about the 10-year capital needs. We developed a capital reinvestment funding model that we've used for the preparation of this year's budget. We've made some improvements, we believe, to the process. Particularly, we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. There are a number of major reports that are going to be upcoming in 2012 that are going to impact the 2013 budget. And obviously, tonight's all about the 2012 capital spending budget. So moving on, we can see that We provided at the last council meeting, and we discussed this matter before, is a preliminary report on the 10-year capital needs. Senior staff is going to come back and revise the 10-year capital needs program. We'll be coming back in July so we can prepare for the October launch of the capital budget for 2013. The capital reinvestment model, as we indicated, was only to use option 2 for this year. If you recall, it's $3.9 million in additional borrowing, and that's been used in the funding model tonight. Moving on, we can see that there are major reports upcoming. Particularly in the fire department, we have a relocation study that should be coming out in June or July. For the facilities and building area, we have a major City Hall conditional assessment that's going to be coming forth that's talking about improvements both on the external outside of the building as well as the internal operations of the HVAC system. In municipal works, the long-awaited fleet review should be completed this summer, and we were going to be including in that a fleet replacement schedule, or at least trying to identify for council a better predictive value. We have a parking study that's going to be coming forth in the next couple of meetings. Staff has been working on a cemetery business plan, which is going to include how we can reinvest in the cemetery to expand and develop the property. And lastly is obviously our transit department our transit operation as part of the transportation department is working on the council report that came to us last fall in regards to the enhanced service plan. All of these have major capital implications and will be addressed in the 2013 budget. Process improvements. We started reporting to council on a semi-annual basis. The first one we did is in December, where we provided an update on capital projects underway, closing off the capital projects, and giving a report on whether they're over or under in their spending. We also initiated a pre-approval of capital projects for the 2012 budget. We're also attempting to do, especially in multi-years projects, is we're trying to get the engineering completed in 1 year and then get the design and construction completed in a sequential manner. This is kind of tying in with the planning that we're talking about in the 10-year capital needs. So tonight you're dealing with the 2012 budget. We've had dual objectives, which, although we have 3 bullets, are really 2 points. Provide 10-year capital needs. We've had that report provided to you, which kind of is an overview of what we anticipate our spending needs will be over the next 10 years in the areas. We wanted to provide funding to the priority 1 projects, meaning those projects that are ready to go and absolutely necessary to go forward. So tonight, in your book, is all of these priority 1 projects. There's been an increased emphasis on roads, sewer, sanitary sewer, and water infrastructure projects. And we've used all the approved funding sources, meaning the operations, the utility budgets, the gas tax allocation, as well as specific reserves that are used for funding capital projects like DC reserves, as well as special purpose reserves that may be available. In addition, we have third-party funding. As you can see, if you look in the transportation area, you see the VTS project is listed as well. So turning to the next slide, we can see that the total spending that we propose this year is $83 million. It's much higher than what our original estimate would be, of about $30 million, and the biggest difference is obviously in the VTS system of $54 million. The $54 million includes the federal and provincial funding of $50 million, plus the additional funds that we've received from Metrolinx since we are proposing to partner with them in the construction of the building. Just quickly, just for some highlights, because I think it would be useful not only to identify what's in the book for those at home that might be interested. In fire, we can see that fire is proposed capital spending in 2012 of $482,000. The biggest areas would be including bunker gear, which is the equipment, the actual physical gear that the firefighters require. We have a traffic preemption device, which is the electronics and communication device that our fire engines need to go through the city to answer calls, and the direct response on the traffic lights. And then there are some pressing health and safety concerns at 2 of the fire stations. In municipal works, we can see that there's a number of projects. We can see that that's the biggest area, $23 million. Obviously, it's our largest department and has the bulk of the infrastructure. The Cattell Sewer project, which is a project we're doing in conjunction with the region, is approximately $2.5 million. The Drummond Road and Lundy's, top part of Lundy's Lane project is $1.9 million. The overlay program, we're able to fund $1.5 million this year. Even though we had anticipated or hoped that we could fund 1.8, we are able to fund $1.5 million. And again, the amount of roads that we'll be able to do will be dependent upon the pricing that we receive from contractors. Thorlstone Road, if you recall, this was part of our pre-approved projects, is almost $4 million. This is the extension that we're working with the region on, the extension of the road, Thorlstone Road down into the Gale Center. This is our portion of it, which would be the underground and the sidewalks. The fleet, our fleet is aging. Every year our fleet manager provides a list. This year we're planning on spending $850,000 towards the replacement of our fleet. These vehicles that we're replacing are in excess of their lifespan, significantly. We have 4 major water and sewer and road reconstructions, all at about $1.5 million up to $1.9 million. Buckley Road, Baldwin Avenue, Dixon and Cleveland Avenue, and Kalar Road. These are all large projects. Cemeteries, we have approximately $165,000, which we're planning on spending. Parks, again, is 1.6. The biggest areas in the parks area are, we have 2 playground improvements that we're going to be doing, Valor and Mount Carmel. Deerfield is a new playground equipment that is funded mostly from the DCs collected, but also from operating funds. Chippewa Boat Dock is a partnership we have with the Chippewa Boat Association. The Don Johnson parking lot is a necessary parking lot improvement for the softball teams that are out in that area. And then, of course, we pre-approved some funding for the Home for Girls Soccer, which included the scoreboard and some stands. But again, that's a partnership with the Girls Soccer Association. Transportation budget, spending $1.3 million. The biggest 2 areas there is the next stop announcement that's on all our buses, which is a requirement under legislation of approximately $360,000. And then obviously we're buying another bus as part of our bus replacement. Recreation and culture, we've spent the bulk of our money in the recreation and culture area over the last number of years. What we are proposing to purchase is a new Zamboni. The Zambonis that we have, the one that we'll be retiring is excessively past its lifespan, and we do need a new Zamboni. And then in the planning and building area, we have a number of buildings that we are going to be decommissioning this year and demolishing. We have the battlefield property that we're going to be spending significant money in buying the land. The majority of that money is being funded from third party. And then we also have some repair work that we need to do to City Hall. All of the projects are listed in your report, and staff are here to talk about them. I had sent out a memo on Friday, which identified part of the clerk's package. which identified significant projects that perhaps weren't included, and these are provided for your consideration. So certainly that's the end of the presentation. If there's anything that you'd like to ask, please come forward. Thank you.
Okay, I do have Council Maves. I just wanted to mention to Council that there is some handouts that deal with the capital budget. There's a couple in there that deal with the access way from Oakwood Drive to the Millennium Manor, and you'll note as well that it is in the capital budget right now. So, Councillor Maves.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Harrison. I was just wondering, I think Councillor Carrio asked that some time ago regarding last year's budget. Are there any projects that that didn't happen? Do we have any surplus money? Are we over budget or under budget from last year?
There was a number of projects that were, because of the lateness of the capital budget, that were not fully started, that they're still underway. I don't have that number at the top of my head. However, the majority of the projects are underway. They've been started, so they're not. The money's not being carried forward. That's one of the things that we've tried to do with this budget, is to ensure that the projects are ready to go, so that we don't commit funds and then the projects sit for months on end. At the end of December, we identified a number of different projects that were over budget at that time and that we needed to fund. And a couple of them were the City Hall renovations project, the bunker gear, and the City Hall renovations went over for a variety of reasons. The bunker gear, there was a issue with regards to the number of new firemen that we hired, which was higher than what we anticipated. And the Waitman Bridge, we had extended some of the service in that area, and we expanded the scope of the work. We anticipate that we will be bringing back another report in the next couple of meetings that would indicate projects that are closed out for the first half of this year. And at that time, we'd be dealing with any cost overrun. The budget this year doesn't have multi-year projects that are carried over, except for projects that are perhaps overrun. And we didn't identify any of those this year. There wasn't any that at the time that we put together the budget that we anticipated that would go overrun, except for there was one project, and it was the McBain, the corner of the McBain Center, which was the pond, and it was an additional $250,000 that we needed to complete that project.
So, as far as you're concerned, we're in good shape with last year's budget and compared to the actual?
Yes.
Not want to pin you down to anything, but
no, but certainly that's one of the
nothing to be alarmed about.
Certainly, one of the important things is to report back and on a biannual basis or semi-annual basis on projects and just complete the circle, and that's what we're planning on doing.
No, I have one more question regarding the transportation. I guess it is. With all the new buses, perhaps Mr. Dren can answer this. With all the new buses we got with the VTS system, do we really need a new bus in our fleet? Is your fleet that aged?
Through the chair, we're actually the bus. We actually prematurely retired one of our buses that was slated that addresses this replacement. So we're down to 25 instead of 26 conventional buses. And therefore, this one is desperately needed to move forward on our conventional system.
We can't interchange anything with the BTS, no? When you say premature, was it in an accident or just...
No, just the framing rotted out and prematurely, and it was in its 18th year or whatever, and
they used to last 26 years when I was on the... Anyway, thanks very much.
Okay, are there any other questions of Council? Councillor Gates.
Yeah, just again on the VTS, The $4,200 on page 17 for $4,200,000, what is that for? No, I know. I just want to make sure because it's not spelled out here. It says external contribution, so it's almost...
Okay, the original budget that we received from the funding partners, being the federal government and the provincial government, was $50 million. It included what we had anticipated. That included the purchase of the buses, included the development of the building, and development of some road repairs that are needed for the system. The extra money, the $4.2 million, is money that we received and negotiated with Metrolinx, which is going to be an expansion on the building to accommodate our partnership with Metrolinx.
Okay, that's good. I got another question, maybe for council, although I did read it in the paper already, and I did get an email on Friday at 3:59 on a Friday afternoon. Maybe we can give an explanation to council on the reason why it's not going to be up and ready till sometime in August or maybe later. Maybe somebody could inform the council on that. I think that's a concern for all of us.
Through the chair. Oh, sorry. Through the chair. The project that we're currently working on, the BTS project, is a project that normally would take a year to 2 years to implement. We compressed the timelines down to about 7 months. And during that process, as you're moving along with vendors, as you're moving along with the details of the project, any little change or any little thing that happens along the way extends the timelines. We're happy to say that we're going to, I think Serge Felicetti had indicated we're about 5 to 6 weeks out, and we're happy to say that we're still within those time frames. We're down to the last couple of issues, and once we get past those hurdles, we'll have a firm date to give you. But essentially what happens, a project this size, when large organizations implement what we're implementing, they usually implement one piece this year, one piece next year, one piece the year after. We have the whole, for lack of a better word, kitchen sink. So we have everything there is available to us that's going to be utilized on this state-of-the-art transportation system. So therefore, we feel that we're in line with meeting our target. Just a couple issues related to some of the, I think it was stated, fair media, some resolution with regards to working with the tourist sector and trying to resolve some issues and moving forward. As well, issues with signs and so forth, and it was related to decisions made on branding. And so as those decisions extend, other things happen. So I think we're in a good position to be about 5 or 6 weeks out.
No, the reason why I asked the question is the fact that going back a few months, it was always that it was going to be ready for this tourist season, and now it's obviously closer to the end of the tourist season, which is unfortunate. So it had nothing to do with the fact that the American company was putting in the systems at all, or anything like that. It was just a fact that there's a number of issues out there that have to be resolved before it can be implemented. Is that kind of where you're at?
Yes, in response to that, there was a couple of large players in it. One is the buses, of course. We were concerned about those arriving on time, and Nova Bus out of Quebec came through and provided those to us. And the other company, Clever Devices, they also are in line with providing it within the time frame that they've been allotted. So they're doing their jobs.
Okay, just follow up to that. On the Nova buses, when were they delivered?
I would say probably about 3 weeks ago, approximately. But when they arrive, what happens is the next stage is put in. The bus comes, it's delivered, all the ITS equipment, all the state-of-the-art equipment has to be installed. It's currently being installed on the buses as we speak. The buses are out over at the Parks Commission yards, and they're installing them there.
No, they look very nice over there. They probably look a lot nicer going through the city, but that's fine. Thanks.
Councillor Thompson.
Just to add to that, I think that there were still some final negotiations regarding the card that was going to be used for the access to the buses, the charge for the cards, how it was going to be split, negotiations with the Parks Commission. None of the signs had been ordered for the stops, and we could have probably implemented. Would have been chaos. Everybody said, let's take a break and make sure when we do it, everybody is prepared and ready to go. As a result of the question, we are going to continue with the existing people mover system, but I had calls from the people out on Lundy's Lane immediately indicating that the bus service was not going to be identical to last year, that the last bus was going to go out there at 7 o'clock, which was going to be useless. There was a lot of chaos and concern about that. I wonder through you if we could have somebody respond. Are we going to provide the appropriate service for Lundy's Lane and the people mover system as we did previously as a result of this delay?
Yes, the fall shuttle, which we operated last year, what we're going to be doing is we are going to operate later hours. So the fall shuttle is going to be operating within the route that it operated last year, up until the time we can swing into the new WeGo system.
Okay, so all of the panic out there has gone away. I haven't heard from it for the last few days, so everything's okay. Great, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other councillors that have any questions in regards to the capital budget? I have one, and I guess it would be to either Mr. Harrison or Mr. Holman. On page 27, there's a citywide master drainage plan, and the cost of it is $300,000. I understand that drainage is an important issue. Is this entirely a consultant study for that price?
Yes.
Is it something that we have to engage in?
Well, the whole idea is to identify the proper outlets for our sewer separation program and try to see if there's some way that we could combine or synthesize some of our stormwater management facilities where they are located geographically within the same areas. Perhaps it could be combined or deepened to get better utilization of the land in that area. It's something that we've been putting off for quite some time. This process would take us through the first 2 stages of the EA process and then identify certain capital works for us over the next 10 years where it would be important to implement some of these changes. Our hope was that we could do this work this year and have the kind of 10-year forecast available for us as we move into our development charges discussions to see if we where the development community could be responsible for picking up some of the capital costs.
And if it deals with storm and sewer water management, is it not something that can go through the utility budget? Or do I have to ask Mr. Harrison?
Well, it's a capital project which is being funded from the utility budget itself. So it's being funded from a transfer to capital out of the utility budget. So in effect, it's being funded by the utility budget. When we do the budget, the monies that we transfer, when we talk about the transfers from operating, the transfers from operating have to go to the projects that it works, that it's funded from. So for instance, the utility budget on the sewer side, we collect approximately $4.7 million that we fund for sewer and storm sewer projects, and that money has to be spent on those types of related projects. I can't fund a bus out of that money. And that's one of the problems that we've always talked about, is that when we look at what comes out of the tax budget or our main operating budget, we have a plethora of projects that we have to fund: fire, recreation, culture, parks, and all of municipal works except for those things that are sewer and water, out of that money, and that's what becomes difficult. So in this regard, that would be coming right directly from the sewer or the wastewater budget.
Okay. It just doesn't say that in the information that you gave us.
Okay. I'd have to look at the sheet just to confirm that.
Mr. Beeman?
Mr. Chairman, in response to your first question, this particular type of endeavor would be, from the point of view of the city's common law duties in management of stormwater, this would be considered a due diligence exercise.
Yep.
And so certainly in any case where we were accused of flooding someone's basement and so on, this would be part of what the city would use as in its defense of such a claim.
Okay.
Indicating that we are making efforts to properly control stormwater.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to clarify for you, Chairman, that if you look at the page, which is 27, you can see the funding source is transfer from operating, $300,000. Now, once again, that's transfer from operating. We don't make a distinction on this chart. Maybe we should, but it doesn't say which operating budget it comes from, but it does come from sewer.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. If there isn't any other councillor that has any questions, perhaps then we can put a motion on the floor to approve the capital budget as it is. Motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Maves. If there's no other questions, I'll call the motion. All those in favour? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. I'll turn the meeting back over to our Mayor. Put it back in his chair.
You always get so excited when it's time for the mayor's remarks. All right, now as we move along our agenda, we're at the mayor's reports and announcements. First off, obituary. Vito Bonanno passed away May the 7th. He was employed with the City of Niagara Falls for 27 years. And as well, Bart Maeve's brother Reginald passed away recently. Reginald served in the Canadian Navy and was in the D-Day invasion at Normandy. Was a proud member of the Canadian Legion, Branch 51, for 68 years. So our condolences go out to both the Bonanno and to the Maeve's families on their losses. Yes, Councillor Pietrangelo.
Just on that item, I mean, in the future, it would be nice to receive some notification if a family member of a colleague passes away.
Okay, we could do that. Yep, definitely. It's always important that we acknowledge each other. Special occasions. This past week, we want to acknowledge it was Janice Wing's birthday. On Sunday, that's right. 29, again. Yeah. No, Sunday. 2 days ago. Also, I'd like to acknowledge Monsignor Ferrando recently celebrated his 70th anniversary of his ordination. So Monsignor's doing quite well. He recently fell and broke his hip, but the man's been around forever. He's an amazing individual, and we congratulate him on 70 years of being ordained. Congratulations, Monsignor. Also recently, Hotels.com ranked Niagara Falls 4th for places to visit, just behind Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. So it seems we're always in the top ratings of all the different search engines. Past events, Go service started the Victoria Day weekend, was a big success. It starts again officially on the 23rd of June. We're trying to convince them to start it a week earlier when Nick Walinda is going to be going across the falls. It doesn't seem to make any sense that they wouldn't start it that weekend when we're going to have big crowds in town. But we've shared that with Metrolinx, and we're trying to encourage them to move forward on that and start a week early if they want a real good launch. Also recently, Niagara Concerts had their season finale with Michael Burgess from Les Mis and Rebecca Kane from Phantom. And the Niagara Concerts, what a great opportunity for anyone. If you're looking to buy someone that perfect present for $100, you get 5 shows at the old NFCBI. 5 outstanding shows, and last one they had Leahy. They always have fantastic shows, and I want to thank Joyce for representing us there, and of course I know Wayne Gates is a member as well, so he's there as well. Vic Pietrangelo joined. This is really neat. We've got a little video to go along with this. Councillor Vic Pietrangelo flew out and met up with Mike Strange as he's running across Canada. And there's a little video here that Dean's going to play, and it should be a little bit self-explanatory of Vic's trip out there. Oh, what is it? Password?
We've got some computer difficulties. Yes.
All right, I'm going to stall for a second. Maybe we could ask Councillor Pietrangelo, would you mind maybe sharing with us just a little bit of how your experience went out there and what you can tell us?
Sure, be happy to, Your Worship. It was great to be out there. I was very happy to be out there. Mike was very happy that I actually made the trip out there. I'm very proud of him. I'm very supportive of the cause that he is engaging in. I understand, Your Worship, that you're going to go visit him as well this weekend, which I think is great. The whole premise of my visit out there was, to support Mike and to try to raise awareness and, let others know that he needs to be supportive. So I think it's great that you're going.
Well,
thank you very much. Oh, we got a video.
All right, we're here at the end of box run day number 31. Our buddy Vic Pietrangelo did 42K today, like a champ. He pushed me to the edge, but he runs like a champ. He's been training. He always runs every day, 4 days a week. You run with your wife, right?
Yeah.
And what's your wife's first name?
Anita.
Anita.
She's better than I am.
No, I know. He's telling me the story about Anita doing an hour and 32-minute half marathon. First half marathon she's ever done. An hour and 32 minutes, like Anita. It's Olympic time for you. I know you're just turned 40.
You had to throw that in on
I love you for that.
Chicks don't take that, bro.
Really?
That's not bad.
Okay, I know you're only 30.
That's one.
All right. I know you're only 30, but you still have the chance of making the Olympics, I think.
Absolutely. Man,
you just started it. And man, with the right training, myself, Vic, Les the Top Check, I'm going to throw Tim Geddes in the mix. He's like motivational, like always in here, blah, 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 blah. Exactly. So he's just doing his dedications today. We're going to do one by one. Box run day number 31. First guy, Kim Crater. Kim, awesome job as representing Niagara Falls, Fort Erie, and Niagara Lake. It's an awesome job.
And what kind of, now the idea is Kim did have cancer also. Correct?
Yes.
And what kind of cancer, Vic?
He had it in his neck.
Kim had it in his neck. He's doing well now. See Kim quite a bit. There's not a guy that does more than Kim. Like you see him at every function. Obviously, you know too. You do a lot as an alderman. This guy is just like, this is work for him. Gary Hendershot. Man, I remember him. He started off the Skylon climb for cancer, and I've ran that a few times. And Gary passed away of cancer. God, it had to be how many years ago now?
At least 6 or 7.
At least 6 or 7, yeah. But Gary, we're thinking of you on today, honestly. Caroline Iannone, she had some stomach cancer, and she's doing well now. We see her every Monday night on council. Carolyn? Bart Mays, Uncle Bart. We love Uncle Bart. Our insurance guy, former insurance guy.
Bart had prostate cancer 6 years ago.
Prostate cancer? 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Bart's doing awesome. He's always, I enjoy, he's friends with my father and my family.
One of our big donators today, too. Thank you very much, Uncle Bart.
Yes, Uncle Bart. Great donations today as well. And
Ed Mahalchuk.
Ed Mahalchuk
that has leukemia right now.
Oh, leukemia.
He's
Okay.
going through leukemia. He's still in his recovery stage.
Wow. So, Ed, good luck to you, Ed.
Long fight for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Ed's
Leukemia.
married to my cousin as well.
Ed's married to your cousin?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Tina.
Tina, nice.
We know you have some friends and family that maybe you want to mention.
Mike, a good friend, a guy that lives on my street. He's a fantastic guy. Vince Baldessaro, he's going through mantle cell right now. I work with him at St. Michael High School. Everyone loves Vince. Vince, you're a great guy. I know you're strong, and I know that you're going to pull through. I know you've told me that the gains are made in the second time that it comes back, and I know you're going to do well, Vince. I wish you all the best. Mike, I've also had a lot of family that have been affected by cancer. My grandfather, Omer Thibodeau, passed away of cancer. My wife, Anita, her father, Emmanuel Giancola, he passed away of cancer. I also have a lot of aunts and uncles, 2 Uncle Bennies, 1 Uncle Dan. I had an Aunt Anna who lost her battle with cancer, and then of course I have my cousin's husband Ed.
Wow.
So yeah.
So it obviously hits close to Vic's family and friends.
My cousin Frankie as well.
And cousin Frankie. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, Frankie P. Yeah, we love Frankie P. Exactly. Frankie's a good buddy of mine too. Great musician. Yeah. He fought testicular cancer, and he's doing awesome. And passed your teacher's test, buddy.
I know. Good
guy. You had to do it in Chinese. We had you do it in Chinese.
Mandarin.
Mandarin.
Not the restaurant, but
not the restaurant. You got it at the Mandarin.
That's where I got mine.
So congrats on that, Frankie. I know it only took you 14 years, but good for you.
There's a flag, Mike.
Flag, awesome. So we're going to actually he's going to bring this home with him, and he's going to put it with his stinky shirt.
Well, we'd like to thank Councillor Peter Angelo on his commitment to helping fight cancer and supporting Mike Strange by flying out all the way out there on his own time. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Councillor?
Yeah, there's one other thing, Your Worship, and I know that Mike had, I think, sent over an email to you as well. He's hoping that City Hall can do a fundraiser for the box run. He wants to put a City of Niagara Falls flag in our main lobby, and anyone that comes in that would like to donate a minimum of $2 can then take a marker and sign their name, and then he wants to wrap up all the money in the flag and send it off to Children's Cancer Research. And I would still make the motion, Your Worship, and I think that you know, it will end once he gets home. He'll be in Calgary this weekend, as you know. I think on the Monday, June 4th, and he'll be in Vancouver on July 1st, and then Victoria on July 5th, and then he'll be back after that. And I'm sure that there's going to be some big celebration that's planned for him. So I would like to make that motion, Your Worship, and then I'm sure Council will support it. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Peter Angelo, seconded by Councillor Iannone. Did you want to speak to the motion, Councillor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, actually, our staff is hosting a fundraising event for the box run, and it's this Thursday. It's a euchre tournament. We got the email to sign up, so if you haven't signed up, sign up. You got some good card sharks coming out there, and that's where that money is going. So just so you know, they've already started.
That's great. So we have a motion, moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Iannone, that we do fundraiser to support the box run and send it along with the flag idea of a toonie. So we'll move forward on the motion. All those in favor? Okay, and it's unanimous. So thanks very much. And yeah, and I'll be seeing Mike on, we'll be at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Saskatoon, and Councillor Morocco will be there as well with me, and the flights, it's funny, pardon me? Yeah, that's right. Different rooms, and we will be flying from Saskatoon to Calgary and then back here to Ontario. So we're going to, as we stop in Calgary, meet up with Mike at the airport in Calgary. So I won't be able to run the marathon. Otherwise, I would, but we're a little tight for time. I don't know if you can run a marathon in an hour. Since I can't, I'm not going to try. Anita could. The rite of silence took place this past week with all cyclists recognizing those that have been hurt or killed in their bike riding accidents, and Councillor Peter Angelo was there that day at the McBain Centre to represent the city as well. City Hall had a staff recognition breakfast this past week at Club Italia, and the theme of the event, the recognition at the breakfast, was to catch people doing things right and to recognize them and reward them. And joining me there that day was Councillor Iannone and Councillor Morocco as well, and of course Councillor Gates was at another event representing the city, and Councillor Thompson was at the event as well. So we appreciate everybody's support for these events. The 75th anniversary of the 40 and 8 pilgrimage took place this past weekend at the Cenotaph at the bottom of Clifton Hill. So we were there participating in that with all the veterans as well. This past week we had the Navy League annual review parade. It's good to see these young kids so disciplined, learning all these different knots and all these practical skills. The Niagara United soccer team soccer season opener was this past Saturday. I understand that we had a number of councillors in attendance. and they had over 700 people for their opening match. Unfortunately, they did not win, but it was a close game. I understand they only lost 2-1. Not bad for their opening game. And there that day, I understand we had Councillor Gates, Councillor Pietrangelo, and Councillor Morocco. Is that right? Yes. Grand Fondo. This, by the way, you're going to be hearing more about this. This is a major bike race that's going to be taking place hopefully next June in Niagara Falls. It comes out of Vancouver. This is big. There'll be anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 cyclists, and they had 150 cyclists do a partial ride the other day, 70K, and they're filming it and doing it as a big PR event. So they're very, very excited, and they realize this could end up being the biggest leg of the Grand Fondo anywhere in North America. This past weekend, we opened up the off-leash dog park at Fireman's Park, and I was there with my dog Charlie and my family, as well as many others were there with their families. I know Councillor Iannone was there, Councillor Pietrangelo were there, and it was a real neat day. You know, they've got a dog park for the smaller dogs, they have one for the bigger dogs, they even have some decommissioned fire hydrants from our fire department, which is great, so the dogs can really feel at home. And what a great park. We had people there from St. Catharines, Welland, all around the region, and they said this by far is the nicest dog park in the area. It's big, it's been designed by a landscape architect, there's trees, there's shade, there's water. What a beautiful place for your dog to get its exercise, its socialization, and you not have to be a marathon runner like Anita. ALS Walk took place in Chippewa this weekend, recognizing those that are going through Lou Gehrig's disease, families and the people that have it. There was the 120th anniversary of the First Baptist Church congregation this weekend. Yesterday was the motorcycle ride for Dad from Niagara-on-the-Lake to Niagara Falls, which is raising money for prostate cancer and prostate cancer awareness. And this week is Niagara Week at Queen's Park. We're meeting with all the different ministers and critics as we're trying to fight for a number of things that we're looking for Niagara Falls. One other thing we do want to mention, and I would ask our fire chief, Lee, if you would help let us know about the fire department. Today you had an event, a launch. Maybe you could just share with us what happened today, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. Today we kicked off our Swing Into Summer Safety campaign. And it's kicked off across Ontario, actually, to try and get families and children to think about safety, whether it's fire safety or just general safety, when they're at home or when they're traveling throughout the summer, whether they're going to their cottage, being on RVs, or whatever the case may be. Make sure they're continually thinking about that. So we had our kickoff this morning, and also we brought over some students from St. Mary's School. They witnessed the kickoff, and then we went over to Oaks Park and had a fun game and a competition against them with a game of soccer baseball. I don't know if you've ever played that before, but it's a little bit easier than baseball. It's a little bit harder than soccer, I think, somewhere in between. And we fought a really hard battle with them, actually, and we lost, I think it was 11 to 5 or something. So the students really kind of dominated there. But I think they had practice, to be fair. The firefighters were working really hard at it. Right after which, they had a pizza party for the kids, and then we got a fire call, and we're gone. So the next couple of hours were spent fighting a fire. But the kickoff and the campaign is really beginning with a partnership through a number of different agencies, including the Technical Standards and Safety Authority, the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs, the Farmers Public Fire Safety Council, and of course the Blue Jays organization, along with Kitty Canada as well. And this partnership provides fire safety messages and general safety messages on the back of baseball cards. So you can collect your favorite baseball cards and turn it over and be reminded of fire safety and other safety tips along the way. Just another way to reach the public, and we think it's a really unique and innovative way to do that.
Oh, thank you. And also, just before you sit down, it was just today in the legislature, the Premier, Mr. McGuinty, was talking about Niagara Falls specifically being a leader in a certain area of fire safety. Do you want to share that with this council too?
Yes, again, Your Worship, we're really happy with the initiatives that have been started within the province of Ontario. And as you know, in Niagara Falls, we've been very proactive in trying to ensure that we had the highest level of fire safety for our residents, including our seniors. And you may also know that in Niagara Falls, the care facilities in our city are protected with residential sprinklers. And that's the initiative that's being discussed in the legislature today. And they're actually embarking on a route a very shortened route, actually, because of some recent tragedies that have happened in Hawkesbury and other places, to implement as quickly as possible some sort of a retrofit provision within the fire code. And so the government is now working extremely hard to get that into place as soon as possible.
So and I understand we were the very first in all of Ontario, Niagara Falls?
Well, we certainly have worked very hard at trying to do that, and Mr. Beeman's been very directly involved in that, as well as Deputy Chief Jessup, that have been leading the charge in the province and dealing with that. So we're very proud to have both of the resources that we have to be addressing that and moving the issues forward. And now it's being picked up by the rest of the province, and the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs is leading the way within the province.
That's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. Two other announcements. Spring Alicious will be taking place downtown this July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the Q downtown. So plan to go down and enjoy the event and the festivities. And of course, we don't need to remind everybody that Nick Willenda will be walking on June the 15th. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of media on what's going to happen. Will there be peregrine falcons? Will he be tethered? There's so many questions. It's certainly been in the news, front page, steady. And the interesting thing, it's not just here in Niagara Falls. This is all over the world. We're up at Queen's Park yesterday, and everybody's talking about it. And this is really big news. It's the big talk, and they're definitely good at keeping it front and center in the media. So that concludes the Mayor's remarks, finally. It was a long one tonight. Moving on. Thought I'd say it before you did. Communications and comments of the City Clerk. First up, Main and Ferry BIA requesting approval of their budget, revised Board of Directors. Moved by Councillor Iannone, seconded by Councillor Wing. All those in favor? I'm sorry?
I move that goes to that and
Okay, and as well Clifton Hill. Okay, moved by Councillor Iannone, seconded by Councillor Wing for the Clifton Hill budget as well. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. 3, Ride to Conquer Cancer requesting a grant equal to the cost of a building permit for the tent related to their event. Moved by Councillor Iannone, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Item 4, Parish of... Pardon me? Okay. Number 4, Parish of Christ Church, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay. Filipino-Canadian Association wanting to raise their flag. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Gates. All those in favor? Okay. Italian Heritage Month requesting flag raising, June 6th. Moved by Councillor Carriel, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Item 7, Knights of Columbus requesting the week of June 25th to the 30th be Knights of Columbus Week. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Morocco. All those in favor? Okay. Ontario Human Rights Commission requesting June 15th proclaimed as Ontario Human Rights Code Day. And Ontario Human Rights Code Week, the 11th to the 15th. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Carriel. All those in favor? Okay, what was that? Item 9, Recreation and Parks Month is requesting that June be proclaimed Recreation and Parks Month in the city. Moved by Councillor Gates, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. All those in favor? Okay, Comic Con 2012 requesting June 8th be Superhero Day in the city of Niagara Falls. Councillor Iannone, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. Yes. All those in favor? Niagara Beekeepers Association requesting May 29th be Day of the Honeybee in Niagara Falls. Pardon me? Refer to Mr. Shannon. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Carriel. All those in favor? Okay. If we could combine those two, it could be Superhero Bee Day, and maybe we could do the 2-1. Okay. Anyway, item 12, Regional Municipality of Niagara requesting a resolution petitioning provincial government to maintain its support and commitment to the horse racing industry. Moved by Councillor Maves, seconded by Councillor Carriel. All those in favor? Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional items for Council's consideration?
Your Worship, on your desks prior to the meeting, there was something from your office which was related to a request from Amanda Pierce at Niagara Falls Helicopters, just asking for the city to not object to them. They're flying a helicopter into Queen Victoria Park on June 3rd related to some anniversary and also in relation to the Willenda event.
Okay, that's moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Ratification of Committee of the Whole recommendations.
Yeah,
Councillor
really.
Iannone.
The Committee of the Whole minutes of May 8th that the Committee of the Whole minutes of May 8th, 2012 be approved, and under reports, TS 2012-22, Portage Road Speed Control Follow-Up Review, that staff be directed to modify the southern traffic hump on Portage Road, and that additional signage and heightened pavement markings be incorporated, and that the Niagara Regional Police be requested to enforce the no heavy vehicle restriction on Portage Road, and that reports RC 2012 ice rental rates and RC 2011 sports tourism policy be dealt with in open camera and under open council, and under new business that the solicitor review the intermunicipal Niagara District Airport Commission agreement with regard to the role of the liaison committee, and I so move.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded by Councillor Carrio. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. And as you say, we will deal with those two other items shortly. Next up, we're going to do it right. Okay, we're going to deal with it right now. Councillor Ioannoni alluded in her reading to two reports that we had downstairs, but we moved upstairs to deal with in open council. First is RNC 2012 ice rental rates. There's a recommendation the council approve the ice rental rates at the Gale Centre and the Chippewa-Willoughby Memorial Arena, and as well that the fees be effective from mid-September of this year to mid-September of next year. Ms. Moldenhauer, was there anything you wanted to add or highlight of this report?
Through to the Mayor. I would just like to add that before recommending the rate, staff have met with all of our users and the Recreation Committee. And through meeting with our users, they actually asked for us to consider a decrease to the adult non-prime rate. One of the reasons they would like to see this rate decreased is, as you can recall from the report that we presented in March, our daytime utilization Monday to Friday was quite low. So we're hopeful that by lowering the adult non-prime rate that we will be able to attract additional rentals to the Gale Centre because we have ice available Monday to Friday during the day. The other rates that are new, again, they were recommended through our users and or the Recreation Committee, and that includes developing a youth non-resident prime rate, and also to introduce a youth tournament rate for non-tenant organizations and also out-of-town groups. The other rates that are recommended in the report, staff did go through them, again with users and Recreation Committee, to determine if they were competitively priced or to determine if we needed to increase them for the upcoming year.
Okay. Do you have any questions of council for Ms. Moldenhauer? Yes, Councillor Carrio. Okay, move the recommendation by Councillor Carrio, seconded by Councillor Maves. Yes, Councillor Gates.
Yes, I'd just like to say to the staff and on behalf of the Recreation Committee, we had a lot of discussion around a lot of the things that are going on, and one of the things that we're trying to change is to talk to the users, make sure they understand where we're going, understand why it's happening, and I want to compliment staff for doing that because it made this report a lot easier on the users and understanding the cost of it, going up to 3% in certain areas, the fact that we're trying to get more adults to use it during the day. So I want to compliment staff, and if we continue to do that, I think these reports will flow a lot easier than they have in the past. So congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you.
Well done. And also, yes, Councillor Wing.
I just wanted to say I was really happy to see the birthday party packages introduced in this report. Oh, you know, as a mother of a young child, I know you're always casting a vote for someplace different than what all the other families are doing. And I just thought this was a really great initiative for staff to add this to the mix of options for families.
I didn't know about it last week. You could have your party there.
And Ms. Moldenhauer, did you want to also maybe enlighten those that may not be aware of the last-minute cancellation availability that you've been doing? I know I've heard a lot of positive things about this, and it's an extra revenue source. I don't know if you wanted to share that with the council.
Yes, with our last-minute ice policy that we had approved, I believe it was last year in December, the ice that's available on that day is $100. And what we have been utilizing is definitely we're using Twitter, and we're tweeting out to people that have signed out what the availability is on that day, and we definitely have seen an increase in the number of people taking advantage of the rentals, because $100 is a great deal for an hour of ice.
And it's sitting there anyway, so why not
Exactly.
utilize it, right? So that's great. I've heard a lot of positive things from people. Last minute, hey, let's go grab some ice time, you know. That's great. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And the last report is RC 2012-11 Sport Tourism Policy with 2 recommendations. First, the Council approved the revised sport tourism policy to include private organizations to be eligible to receive a rental fee discount for sporting events held in City of Niagara Falls facilities. And 2, that the request to host the 2013 Clarkson Cup event be declined with consideration to host the event in future years. Okay, what's the direction? Okay, motion by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Iannone. We've got Councillor Morocco to speak to it.
I think just a couple of questions I do have that, first of all, I'm not sure that I'm interested in supporting to decline the 2013 Clarkson Cup. I think once we get it, that leaves, I know that there's the issue that we already have other users that are already booked for that time, so can we not move them around to other arenas? Or I'm just thinking, is this an opportunity that's knocking at the door that'll never come back again for the Clarkson Cup?
Well, that's
tell me.
maybe we can get some enlightenment from Ms. Moldenhauer.
Through the Mayor, with the Clarkson Cup event, traditionally it has moved around to other communities. They have not in the past kept the event at one community for more than 1 year.
Okay.
We did receive a request from our local organizing committee because they felt that if we kept it here for more than 1 year, that they could build additional sponsorships and hopefully increase the number of spectators at the event. The reason we were able to provide ice for the event this year is Easter took place in April. So we didn't have to worry about Easter in March and the impact that it does have on our tournaments. Easter is actually scheduled this year the last week of March. And all of our weekends in March right now are booked up, all 4 pads of ice for tournaments for either our local user groups or a lot of them are adult local tournaments as well. So we really don't have the availability at all. We have been speaking to all of our tournament users, and I will be following up with a tournament report. And none of them at this time are willing to give up their ice for this event. Because again, when we sold it to them last year, we really did sell it to them as a one-time event, and they were more than willing to sponsor the Canadian Women's Hockey League. They really thought it was a good event for 1 year.
Okay, so that they will be within the region then? They will be?
They would be within Ontario.
Oh.
Because in the past, they've been at Kingston, they've been at Barrie, so it has taken place within Ontario. In the report, we did recommend perhaps in the future we could look at hosting it on a regional basis, so it wasn't so much a demand on our facility.
Okay, well that's a good idea. And then my second point is I've had a couple of groups that do bring business and sports events into the city. It states that the tourism money, the sports tourism policy of the annual budget, of $20,000, is that actually from the city or is it from Niagara Falls Tourism? Because that was just, it's from the city. Okay, so some people were asking, well, 2 groups wanted to know, do they have to book through the Tourism Bureau because they've already got hotels that they use already? Would they still be able to apply for that application?
We'll direct that to Ms. Moldenhauer.
Yes. Through to the Mayor. With the application process, they do have to meet with staff prior to their event.
City staff?
City staff, and they complete the form. Okay. And then when they're coordinating their hotels, they can go out on their own and set up their own
some
hotel.
of them already have
Yes, they can definitely do that.
Properties?
And
Okay.
an option is they can go through Niagara Falls Tourism if they haven't already taken care of it. But they do not have to do that. That's not a requirement. A requirement that we do have is they do have to validate post-event that they have stayed in local hotels and motels.
But that can be done through the city?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Councillor Gates, Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, I'd just like to, on the Clarkson Cup, I think first of all I'd like to congratulate Vince Cario, who provided a lot of the sponsorship and fed the athletes that come into our community. I did take in a few of the games. I think it was a wonderful event. It's very exciting. It's not very often that you get the opportunity to host a national women's tournament of any sport. I have 3 daughters at home, and I've always felt that sometimes women don't get the same recognition that men do when it comes to sporting events. And so to have this event in our community, I thought it was great. I thought the quality of hockey was extremely good, and I thought there were some learning experiences that happened during the tournament that I think they could do a little better. But I did receive an email today talking about how they'd like to still keep it in Niagara, with Niagara Falls being the main host, but also using other arenas in the area, like Port Colborne, I think was one of the arenas that I saw, and changing the ice time where they wouldn't be using up as much ice time as they did this time, where they could play some of their games, which I think would be a great idea, more during the week, on the Thursday and the Friday. I know when I was there on, I think it was Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, the place was packed with school kids. It was very, very, very loud. It was a lot of fun. So maybe on this particular event, maybe I wouldn't mind if the council take another look at the proposal that they're putting on using other facilities in the area, but with Niagara Falls kind of being the host one. But maybe you only have to tie up the final game will be played in Niagara Falls where the TV's there, rather than just push it out of the Niagara region altogether, and talk to the other communities, because it seems from the email they've already talked to Port Colborne. They got a new arena, by the way, in Port Colborne. I think it'll be open for next year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not positive on that. I think there's another new arena, maybe I think it's in Dunnville. One of those places up there have got a new arena. Maybe St. Catharines, and make it more of a regional tournament, but rather than lose it altogether, because I thought it was just a great event. Like I said, I think Councillor Carroll did a great job on certainly highlighting the benefits of having it in Niagara Falls. I maybe like to maybe just defer this for maybe the next council meeting and see if we can get more details on what they're proposing on using other arenas in Niagara. Just a thought on that, and whatever my fellow councillors think of that.
Well, what you can do is we could split this into 2, and you can put a motion for deferral if you like, once we're done the discussion here on the second part of that. Ms. Moldenhauer, was there any discussion on the idea of, rather than Niagara Falls host all the games, us host maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of the games?
Yeah, staff actually have looked at the request, and the games that took place during the day on Thursday and Friday, we could actually definitely accommodate. There was no conflict with our users. The conflict was actually with our Junior B playoff team, so we would definitely need Friday night, and I think they were willing to accommodate on the Friday night. But it's the weekend ice that is already, I know it's a draft schedule, but it has been tentatively allocated to our users for tournaments. And when you host the Sunday game, there are a couple of requirements. You do have to cover up all of your board advertising, and they put their ads up. So we would still have that cost involved in getting the ads up and down. You also do have to cover up all of your ice logos. So what we did this year is we actually painted the ice white, and we had to build it up a bit, and then we had to put the Scotiabank logo in the center of their ice. And again, there's ice maintenance costs involved with that. So we still would incur a lot of the costs that were involved with the event.
So that would be just if we had the championship game.
Exactly.
On TSN.
Right. For the final Sunday game.
Right. So Councillor Gates, to your suggestion, and it's a very good suggestion, spread it around the region. Just we don't have to necessarily have the championship game. We can host some of the other games during the week and still get all the school kids in, and maybe let Port Colborne host the championship this year to keep it in the region. Good idea. More than likely, they're going to stay in our hotels and eat at our restaurants, and it's probably not a bad idea. Councillor Peter Angelo, was this on the same topic you had?
Sport tourism.
On sport tourism? Okay, well, why don't we do this then? Why don't we split the recommendation into 1 and 2, sport tourism and the Clarkson Cup. And Councillor Gates has a motion of deferral, seconded by Councillor Wing, for recommendation 2 for the Clarkson Cup. And we'll put that to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, so it's unanimous. So that'll be deferred, and then we'll look at the idea. It's a good idea. And a conflict with Councillor Carrier. It's a great idea, and it's a good direction, and I think we can get something out of that. Okay, so we're still dealing with recommendation number 1, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Thanks, Your Worship. I have 2 questions on the sport tourism policy. If you look at the attachment, which is the actual policy, towards the bottom of the front page, under the heading Guidelines, the second last bullet says, the majority of the events to be hosted in the city of Niagara Falls, does that mean that whoever brings the tournament to Niagara Falls has to use the majority of our facilities, of all the facilities that they're using?
Through to the Mayor. An example would be if we were to have, say, a regional basketball tournament, and if 75% of the games are taking place in the school gyms in Niagara Falls, then yes, they would qualify. But if 75% of the games were taking place in St. Catharines, then it would not qualify.
Okay, and I'm thinking of a hockey tournament that uses 12 arenas.
Okay.
But we can only offer them 4.
Right. So then they wouldn't qualify.
They wouldn't qualify.
Wouldn't qualify because they wouldn't be having the majority of the games taking place in the city.
Shouldn't it be more based on whether or not the people are staying here in Niagara Falls and whether or not, I mean, the economic impact is being brought to our city as opposed to where they're actually playing their games?
Well,
because, I mean, like, if they're based here in our hotels and eating at our restaurants, but yet they're driving to St. Catharines or to Port Colborne to play a game, but then coming back to Niagara Falls, they're still impacting us.
With the private organizations to be eligible, we were going to provide a discount off of our rental fees. So with that, we would be looking at City of Niagara Falls facilities.
But aren't these guidelines in order to qualify for the actual sport tourism rebate?
Yes.
So if they don't actually meet these guidelines, then
they wouldn't qualify.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's bringing a major tournament here, and let's say 75% of the attendees minimum are staying in Niagara Falls, shouldn't that be more important than whether or not they're actually, like, I mean, maybe they're using up all of our facilities, and then they have to go elsewhere to use other facilities. But, I mean, the real issue is whether or not the economic impact is being felt in Niagara Falls. Is it not?
Correct. Would you be more comfortable if it was 50%?
I'd be more comfortable if it had something in terms of our facilities. I mean, if they were using up all of our facilities and then had to go elsewhere, I'd be okay with that,
Okay.
as long as they were using our facilities.
Utilization rates.
Yeah, I guess you can have a guideline in there in regards to utilization, and then at least they'd be able to qualify. I mean, if they're coming to us first and they're utilizing every single facility that we can give them, and then they have to go elsewhere because there's so big of a tournament, I think that's great, because everyone's going to stay in Niagara Falls anyway. They're not going to stay in the neighboring communities. Your Worship, I did have one other question, and it was on the back of attachment number 1 as well. When you take a look at the Sport Tourism Grant Program rebate, level 4 is considered a significant event, and it says that if, I guess the organization that's running the tournament books more than 750 room nights, is that the way I read it? Then it says to be determined beside it.
Yes.
And I guess through you, Your Worship, to Ms. Moldenhauer, who determines what their discount is?
Okay. With the to be determined, it would be sitting down with staff, so we'd be looking at the economic impact. And one of the reasons we have put to be determined, because with private, we're looking at a discount off of rental fees. A discount off an hour of ice is greater than a discount off of an hour of a baseball rental, say, for example. So we'd have to consider that as well, but they'd be sitting down with staff, and we ensure that it was fair.
Okay. Would we at all know? Would you update council?
We could.
I'd just like to know. I mean, it would be relative, really, in terms of the cost that someone's paying for a ball diamond as opposed to the cost that someone's paying. I mean,
Correct.
The initial registration fee is relative, you know, based on the rate that they're being charged at each facility.
Correct.
But I would be interested to know, actually, what the discounted rates were and what some of the major tournaments that came to Niagara Falls were, and the economic impact that they provide to the city. I'd be very interested to know that.
Yeah. With this policy, as it is only a year old, and we were slow to informing our groups about it last year, the plan is that we would update council on an annual basis to inform you how much of the fund had been utilized, what groups did receive it for what tournament. So we would be providing you that information on an annual basis.
Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate Ms. Moldenhauer letting me know that she'll make both those minor changes, Your Worship, and I also appreciate her bringing back the policy to include the for-profit groups, because I know last year when we did the sport tourism policy, it was only for the non-profit groups, and I think that there's a bigger market out there, and that staff will have the ability to attract for-profit groups, because that's what a lot of people get into these tournaments for.
So what was decided then, Councillor, regarding on the first page, the majority, 75%?
I think I would be more comfortable, Your Worship, if it dealt with the utilization rates. I mean, if we had a tournament operator that was using 75% of our facilities, that we could give them anyway.
That were available. I see.
And then going outside to other municipalities. I mean, as long as they were using our facilities to as many as we would give them, you know, I would be comfortable with that. So if it was based on utilization, I'd be happier, Your Worship, because then at least we could allow people to qualify, because let's be realistic. I mean, Niagara Falls has all the hotel rooms. So the bigger the tournament is, the better it is for Niagara Falls. So I don't understand why we would preclude anyone, seeing that their tournament got bigger and that they had to go to neighboring municipalities to use their facilities. Wouldn't make sense. We would want the biggest tournaments here in Niagara Falls, and that would be the only way that they could qualify.
Yeah, definitely. Councillor Thompson?
Well, just a couple of comments. First of all, $20,000. I hope that we take a good look at this next year and hopefully realize that here's a real opportunity to get people into our community and to be competitive and make sure that we draw them here. The other thing is, Councillor Peter Angelo's comments, maybe we should have another look at this policy, and the economic spin-off is what we're really looking at. If they're having 2 arena pads and they can demonstrate that they have 300 rooms that they're renting here, then I think there should be a different formula where they can demonstrate the number of the economic benefit that we're getting here. We're willing to pay more for that than just the rental of the arena. That's where really the benefit is. So maybe that whole scenario of how it's broken down should be looked at and concentrate more on the room rentals.
Councillor Morocco.
Your Worship, just to add to that point there, it's really just $20,000. So basically you can have a number of groups and then they all put the applications in, and then through you to Kathy. So they just put their applications in, and then how are they selected? I guess that's maybe one of the questions I'm not too sure, because $20,000 isn't going to go very far, especially when if you're in a $750 or $750 room night and it's $4,000 they're going to get. So how do you? Maybe that's something, and maybe I'll talk to her about later. I don't know if everyone else is interested in how they decide that, who gets the money. Is it based on the larger number that's going to bring revenue?
At this point, it's first come, first serve.
Okay.
Because we have not used up all of the 20,000. It's definitely been an item of discussion. When we first implemented this policy, we wondered if we should be looking at breaking it up by season. So you could have so much allocated to the hockey group, so much allocated to baseball and soccer. But we didn't run into this problem last year because it was approved halfway through the year. So by the end of December, we'll see kind of how quickly the money is allocated to the...
Yeah, and it's like I said, 20,000 doesn't seem to be much to kind of entice sports, and sports tourism is a huge industry out there itself. But I think in a conversation we had earlier, London basically is a leader in sports tourism.
Correct.
And St. Catharines isn't far behind, but they give $50,000 is their grant or whatever it is that their policy, tourism policy. Burlington actually also has one, but they collect it from the hotels as well.
Correct.
I know that we don't want to look at raising our budget anymore either. So that's why I wasn't too sure where the $20,000 came from, whether it was from the Tourism Bureau or the RTO, but it's from us. Is there any way that this money we could actually look at increasing and possibly get the RTO or the Regional Tourism Organization to actually, fill in that that void? Is
Maybe
that
some
something maybe in the
feedback,
future?
Councillor Thompson, on the RTO.
Well, I don't think they give actual monies to groups, but I would suggest that they have that dialogue, and also have the same dialogue with Niagara Falls Tourism and some of the stakeholders. You know, it's a very competitive world out there now, and there's a lot of opportunity for, in fact, they're negotiating rates all the time. So I would suggest, and in fact, I think they are liaising with Niagara Falls Tourism all the time anyway, yeah.
Okay, also, yeah, just one second, Councillor. I know that our acting CAO would like to also comment.
I'd just like to quickly comment on what Councillor Morocco and Councillor Thompson were saying. I think that what we've attempted to do with this policy is to address the fact that in last year we didn't spend the entire $20,000, and I think this is an attempt by Mrs. Maldenhauer and her department to address some of the holes. I think going into next year's budget, what we'd like to do is take some of these ideas that are there, that you've both raised, and see how we can be more competitive and compete with the Londons of Ontario, because we do have the capacity with the hotels and the tourism industry that we certainly can look at this. So it's something that we're looking at. This policy is really an interim step to really look at it more deeply. And just to talk about additional funds, obviously we'll talk about that next year in the budget. If we do get to the point where we're going to have to go exceed the $20,000, we'd have another report come back. That's a good news story, because that means the policy's been effective.
Just to that point, not that I'm looking at putting it in the city budget. I'm looking at another agency to actually take on that funding, of course. And of course, the fact is that you didn't go through the whole $20,000. The city is not the marketing agent for tourism, actually, per se, as the Tourism Bureau itself would be. But I mean, I'm glad that it's out there, and I'm hoping that it increases, but I hope some other organization or agency takes on that expense. As we're trying to decrease our budget, and I'm sure there's a number of line items that we could possibly look at. Even the tourism bureaus now across the Canada are not actually being funded by any of the cities any longer. So that's something that we have to look at. How is it going to be funded if our RTO is now funding them?
Okay, we've got Councillor Gates and Councillor Pietrangelo.
Yeah, I'd just like to talk to the report. Quite frankly, at the Recreation Committee meetings, we had this dialogue on how can we improve the sports tourism, because quite frankly it's a big business out there. A lot of other communities right across the province, right across the country are seeing just how much money is in sports tourism. So at our recreation, we talked about the hotel owners coming together and saying funding it at a different level as it grows. And what was said to us at that time is the hotelers are already subsidizing it to some of the lower costs for the rooms. Where it might be $150, so if you're doing 30 rooms or whatever, it's $120. So they are participating, but maybe doesn't show up in the sports tourism the way it should. And that may be some of the dialogue. Rather than do it that way, maybe do it through sports tourism if it's going to continue to grow. So it was discussed at great lengths, quite frankly, at our Recreation Committee meeting as well. And so we'll see where it goes. Obviously, if we grow, it's a good news story, for sure.
Definitely. Thank you. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Worship, I guess my only question was in regards to the $20,000 that's available. When would be the date of, or when would be the effective date that would take effect? Would it be after we pass this, or would it be January 1, 2012?
Mr. CAO?
Well, the $20,000 was included in the budget, so I think in the report it talks about who's already used it so far this year, and I believe that it's right up to date, the information. So the balance of the money would be available for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but I think it only said the Clarkson Cup, and I mean the Clarkson Cup was non-profit, correct?
Yes, but we did provide a grant to them in the sense that was funded partially to offset some of the costs.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if we're making a policy change, I mean, is the effective date today?
Yes.
Or does it go back to January 1 of this year, since it's this year's budget?
Well, I would say that the effective date is as of today, and that the groups would come forward. Again, as I said earlier, if we have more groups come in applying for it, that's a good news story because it's being effective, and then we'd have to deal with it as a budget amendment or something else if council wanted to entertain that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wing?
Yes, getting sports tourism visitors has been an item of discussion in the past at Lundy's Lane BIA meetings, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity here for interested BIAs to work in conjunction with our staff to supplement our own program. For instance, they're going to be having to prove that the majority of their participants and spectators are staying overnight in our hotels and motels. Well, maybe if a majority are staying in a certain BIA, that BIA could set up a budget item where it supplements what we are providing with funding of its own for them patronizing its area. I'm just looking at how to grow this thing and find more contributions that don't come out of our pockets but come more directly from the interested sectors.
Well, that's a good question. Let's get some answers.
Yeah, I'll throw that out.
I don't know whether Ms. Moldenhauer or Mr. Harrison. I think that'll be you, Mr. Harrison. She's not getting up.
Well, since some of the BIAs haven't submitted their budget, I'm sure that they could put those line items in the budget. I mean, the question then becomes, are those types of expenses within the mandate of a BIA? And that would be a question that we'd have to look at and certainly engage. I know that half the BIAs, and we had 2 tonight that have submitted their budget, and certainly it's something that we can look at moving forward as we continue to look for partnership opportunities and other avenues that we can increase this industry.
Okay, Councillor? All right, are there any other comments to this report? Okay, so we do have a suggested amendment that will involve utilization rather than 75% of the events taking place within the city. So can we just take that as an amendment and receive it, or are we looking, any advice on this, Mr. Clerk?
I'd like to see it when it's updated.
Okay. So you want to have it come back?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo to have this report come back with the updated change with utilization. And we have a seconder by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion to that motion? All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Resolutions?
In camera.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Ratification of in camera. Mr. Clerk.
A few items, Your Worship. Staff be directed to establish priorities and develop a security working plan subject to budget considerations. That Mr. Carlo Butera be advised that his matter is at an end and that the Council of the City of Niagara Falls will not be responding to any further communication on the topic of his dismissal from the City of Niagara Falls and any of the ensuing interaction between city staff, members of council, and mayors of Niagara Falls as a result of his ongoing efforts to circumvent the legal system, and that the solicitor seek an injunction as required.
Okay. Looking for a motion. Moved by Councillor Iannone, second by Councillor Morocco.
With the conflict on 04, this first one.
Okay, with the conflict on 04. Any discussion to the motion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Resolutions. We have a resolution. Therefore be it resolved that Niagara Falls City Council consider the Niagara Motorcycle Show to be an event of municipal significance and supports the provision of a special occasions liquor license permit for this event. Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Gates. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. The consent agenda. Motion to move the consent agenda, Councillor Iannone.
I'll second it, Your Worship, but I asked to pull one out.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo with the exception of pulling
MW 2012-27.
Okay, and Councillor Carrio, you wanted something pulled?
01220.
01220. Okay. Any others? Yes, Councillor Thompson.
2012-31.
Anything else? Oh, yeah, we could. Okay. One by one. All right. So we have a motion to move the rest. All those in favor? Okay, it's passed. So we'll start off with Councillor Pietrangelo, MW 2012-27, Laura Secord Commemorative Walk-in Trail.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'm in favor of the improvement. I just wanted to ask staff if they can give me a better idea of where the proposed walk is going to happen. So as I understand it, people are going to be walking up St. Paul Avenue, and then are they going to take the Bruce Trail that's directly north of the railway? That's correct, right? And then they're going to go through Fireman's Park on the Bruce Trail as well, and then go through Mewburn Park?
Correct.
Okay. And all of the improvements that you're talking about are going to happen in Mewburn Park?
Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, yeah, that's the section that needs those drainage improvements and some trail definition work.
Okay. If I can just say, Your Worship, the section of the Bruce Trail from St. Paul Avenue to Dorchester Road, and I know just because I ran it recently, my son runs at Fireman's Park, so I decided to go for a run, and I ran through the trail. There's two places that need a crossing there. So if you're planning on sending people through the Bruce Trail, you have large ditches that are 5-6 feet wide that are full of water that need to be crossed. There's already 2 bridges in that section of the Bruce Trail, but if you're planning on sending all kinds of people down that trail, you're definitely going to need some improvements in that section of the trail as well. So I'm not sure how staff want to handle that, but I mean, maybe city staff can go for a walk. I'll even meet you out there and show you the areas that I'm talking about, and maybe we can get on the same page whether or not I'm on the right path.
Or one vine, maybe one vine they can swing across.
No pun intended, Your Worship.
Yeah, that's good.
But no, seriously, there are 2 improvements that need to be made on the Bruce Trail in that section, especially if you're planning on sending hundreds of people down there. So.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, the actual walk that's going to take place will be in June of 2013, so it's 1 year away. And you'll notice that what you've approved also in your capital budget under the parks budget was a budget for $17,000 expenditure for this. What's being proposed here is a donation of time and effort,
yes.
Which is going to basically cut the work in half. Yes. And we're basically providing the materials, and this group from Unilever will be donating their time as part of their corporate initiative to do the work through this area. And there are some major areas that have rutting from four-wheel drive vehicles and so on and so forth. But there is some major work that needs to be done. And there may be some additional work that has to be done this time next year before the big walk. But this is really an opportunity to take advantage of some donated labor as part of this corporate initiative organized through Habitat for Humanity.
Okay. Your Worship, perhaps then in the meantime from now until next June, I'll get an opportunity to meet staff out there and show them the areas that I'm talking about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Do you need me to move the report?
Yeah.
I'll move the report.
Moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Maves. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Next up, Councillor Thompson, MW 2012-31, Victoria Promenade Landscape Improvements Tender Award.
Yes, just a question regarding the cost and the participation. This is property that is owned, excuse me, by the casino, is it not?
Yes, this is the boulevard area.
This is the old railway
rail lines. Yes.
Okay. So it's owned by them. Are they participating in the cost of the development?
No, they're not.
Why?
This is a project that we're funding from the capital budget. They've been involved in the discussions for some of the intersection work.
Well, I know they've been involved in the discussions because they wanted to have an in and out onto Victoria Avenue at, what is that, Hunter, what is it? Walnut Street. And they said, no, they only want an in, so they've really sabotaged that situation. So why wouldn't they be participating in the cost? It's their land, it's their boulevard. They've never maintained it. We've had to do it in the past. Why are we so deficient in not suggesting to them, this is your land, you're in the tourist business? Sometimes ask them why they wouldn't do that.
Well, that's something we could pursue.
It's their property, Your Worship, and I think that we're taking it on just because they're not doing anything. So I'd like to see at least an approach made, if not locally here, to the OLG
to say, hey, this is your property in the heart of the tourist area, needs beautification and upgrading. Maybe we're going to participate, but I think they should be doing their share of the financial lifting also.
Okay. So, yes. So we'll get the clerk maybe to weigh in.
Well, I haven't been directly involved, but I know that those approaches have been made in the past, and my understanding is that the OLG has said, show us where we're obligated to do that in the agreement. So they've refused. That's my understanding.
Well, I would do it in a formal motion then, that we asked in fairness, because it's their property in the heart of the tourist industry, that they participate in the upgrading of the property and send it to the chairman directly.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Wing. Before you call the vote, yes, Mr. Holman?
Just for clarification, if the answer is no, would you like us to continue on with the project? Because we're under very
no, absolutely, but I think there's some responsibility here, and it's not like they're short of cash.
Maybe we can expedite this right to the top quickly. Yes, Councillor Gates?
Well, I'd just like to say to Councillor Thompson that he's right on the money. There's no way that taxpayers' money should be going to take care of this when the casino is making, well, I think last time it was like $400 million. So I think that we should be doing everything we can to get the casino to live up to their obligation to make sure the tourist area is beautified, but I don't think the taxpayers should be picking that up for the casino. That doesn't even make sense to me, so I compliment Councillor Thompson on raising that issue.
Okay, so we have a motion that we take this right to the casino end or OLG.
No, I think. Yes, the chairman is a very reasonable individual. In fact, I've met him, I've known him for 30 years. But we actually approached him about the Fallsview BIA about participation, because they always said that we were going to be treated exactly as Windsor in all the agreements. Windsor has received $340,000 a year to the BIA from the casino from day one. We went over and met directly with the chairman, and he said, resolve our tax issue first before you come and talk to me. So that's where the problem is. So that doesn't relate to this situation, though.
Okay. Yes, Councillor.
Just a follow-up to the comment that was made earlier, is that the fact that maybe it's time that we saw the agreement.
Don't hold your breath. It's the Holy Grail. It's the Holy Grail. Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Clarification, different agreement. The agreement I'm talking about is the agreement between the city and the OLG.
Okay. But you'd like to see that one anyway.
So are we talking about Mr. Godfrey, or are we talking about Phillips? Yeah? Okay. Okay. So then we've got a motion that we send a letter immediately to the chairman of the OLG for participation in this work. Moved, and we're looking for a seconder. Did we ever get a seconder? Seconder? We haven't?
Councillor Wing.
Oh, Councillor Wing. All right, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And next we've got PD 2012-20, proposed change from residential loan to residential grant for the downtown. Councillor Carrier.
I just wanted to pull your worship because I can't support it. I can't support the money being taken from a loan and being given as a grant. I don't think that's fair to take the taxpayers' dollars from people who are in the apartment building business and give it to someone else to grant to build apartments.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Pierangelo.
Your Worship, I was just going to say that, I mean, I was surprised to see this. It did come to us once before, and it was not approved. And it's come back to us again, and I have to agree with the other councillors' comments.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Bollebrook.
Yeah, I believe, Mr. Mayor, that it was deferred before, a couple years ago. It wasn't actually a motion to deny, but the BIA has come to me as coordinator of the community improvement plan to, we need something downtown that's going to get people down here and walking and getting additional pedestrians on the street. difficult time to encourage people through the loan program. So they've talked about this being their primary focus, is to get more people down here living and hopefully utilize the retail that's here. So that's their main focus. And I know for Main and Ferry, their main focus was Sylvia Place Market. We went ahead with their money to buy the hall, the Serbian Hall. So they've just relayed to me that this is really important to them. So just my comments.
So, yes, Councillor Wang?
I had my hand up before because I want to say I absolutely agree with Councillor Carriel. I hadn't thought about the fairness aspect to other landlords, and being one myself, yeah. Now, if you're doing for one, you really need to make the same opportunity available for anybody who wants to fix up an older, run-down rental property. But, I mean, the difference, too, between this area and Main and Ferry is if you look at the budget we approved a little while ago, first item on it under, expenditures is $25,000 contribution to city, first of four, toward theater property purchase. And then you go on down and there's another one, contribution to museum project, first of five. And, the Main and Ferry BIA contributes actively to city initiatives in the area, whereas, here we're talking about taking loan monies and changing them to grants. And this is something that I recall coming before us previously, and I didn't think it was deferred. I thought it was voted down, and it just doesn't seem fair and it doesn't seem right. And I don't think the way it reads, it's one apartment per building, and I don't think that's going to bring the critical mass of people that they want to see. I think what they need is housing development in this area, new apartment complexes or whatever, and this isn't going to provide that. This is something entirely different.
Okay. Our acting CAO would like to comment.
The report has been written by the planning department because the fundamental problem is that the incentives that we have existing, i.e. the loan program, has not been effective. The true expense of the loan is really the unexpensed interest, for instance. That's really truly the expense of it, simply because we don't charge, it's an interest-free loan. So that's effectively what the program is funding. So the problem becomes is how do we make this incentive worthy of for people to invest, and that's what fundamentally this report is behind. This money is sitting in reserve as it has sat in reserve for some time now. The argument would be is if the incentives are not satisfactory, perhaps we should be looking at other ways of creating the use of that money.
Councillor Carriel?
Well, I was prepared to let it go and just vote on it, but now, they're not happy to get interest-free money. They want it given to them for nothing. I mean, that's just an insult to injury to anybody in business and anybody that pays taxes. Come on. You don't want interest-free money? Most of our businesses in our community can't even get loans at the bank. The tourism industry shut off at the bank. We have to find other ways to borrow money and at much higher rates. So it looks to me like, they're not taking advantage of it because it's a loan, and we're looking for a way to try and get rid of it. Well, if the money's sitting there and they don't want to use it, put it back in the coffers. Put it into parks, put it into rec, put it into sewers, put it into water. They don't want to use interest-free money. I don't just want to sit here and wait for them to come up with something so that we give it to them. If we can't, they don't want to take it as it is, take it out of that fund and put it somewhere where people actually need it and will use it. I'd make a motion, Your Worship, that we do not change it from a loan to a grant, and that if they don't take advantage of it at the end of the season, we look for places to redeploy that money to somewhere else where I'm sure some of our other departments will take advantage of it.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councillor Carriel and a second by Councillor Wing. We have Councillor Morocco.
Yes, Your Worship. My understanding was that CIP money is allocated to different areas of the downtown, right? And we had just talked about that the other area that just actually falls through BIA, right? That would Main and Ferry, actually had their dollars utilized to purchase Sylvia Place, or property. Is that correct? I just want to try and get my head around this here. So,
Yes.
and where did that money come from?
Okay. All
Because
of
I'm
the...
sure there's people that just don't understand how the CIP money works, and there's money that's put aside. So if you can explain.
CIP programs were established, I believe, in 2005, 2006, as a budget line item. And there was a series of incentives that were used for the Main and Ferry area, as well as the downtown area, as well as there's another CIP, which is citywide, which is intended for brownfield redevelopment. The money at Main and Ferry had been used for a series of grant programs, just as it was downtown. The loan program was available downtown as well. The money, so what had happened, how these reserves
But not the grant, sorry, just wanted, but not a grant, just a loan, not the grant.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there was other grant programs that were downtown. The monies that were in the reserve were unspent during a fiscal year. So for instance, and I don't have the information in front of me, but certainly we can provide that the amount that was unspent in 2006 was reserved and set aside for the use in a future year. I believe in 2009 or 2010, because the reserves were fairly significant that had grown, the annual funding into the CIP program was discontinued in the operating budget. And we established that we would continue to fund the grant programs out of the reserves that existed. The Main and Ferry BIA utilized a portion of the CIP reserve, which is, remember, this is tax money that we raised for that program. It was reserved. They utilized or redirected that money for the purchase of the Serbian Hall, which is, and so in effect, there is no...
That the city purchased.
The city purchased and is redeveloping.
Serbian Hall,
yes,
to improve the Main and Ferry.
No.
Or
the CIP money that was in the CIP reserve that was under the area that had been generated for the Main and Ferry programs was used to purchase the Serbian Hall. There is no more money in the reserve fund for any other additional grant programs in that area.
Okay.
Okay. The downtown has approximately $600,000 in a CIP reserve. The question is how best to use that to meet the original intent, which is for the incentives to assist in the redevelopment of downtown. And that's what I believe the planning department is bringing forward, is a program that says that perhaps it would be better as a grant as opposed to a loan program.
So this request then is coming from the entire downtown BIA for this request?
Yes.
It's not one developer, one person, it's the downtown?
It's the downtown BIA, which has indicated what their preference would be for an incentive program.
And have we done a grant, have other areas received grants also, not loans? Have they taken grants? Have we done that to other areas?
No.
No.
This is a change of this program for this area.
So this is not something we normally do?
No, it's a new, it would be a change in direction. That's why it's a council group.
Thank you.
Okay?
And the other thing, too, it should be mentioned, the region would be putting in part of the money as well, so it's a partnership program. I know the clerk wanted to comment on this as well.
Well, I know in the past when we have ventured down this road and, you know, there was discussion, didn't council deny this in the past? No, you didn't deny it. What happened was, I believe the BIA at the time sort of smelled the tea leaves and asked for a deferral on the matter. So similarly, if you vote against this tonight, it would not surprise me if the BIA, you know, made an approach to council trying to readdress this issue. So I don't know if you want to maybe give them that opportunity before voting down this proposal. Obviously, you can make your motion tonight, Councillor Carrio, but just knowing what has happened in the past, I'm sure the BIA will want to come and make their pitch to you as to why this should happen. And maybe in retrospect, we should have probably brought the report with them making that pitch this evening. That was probably our mistake.
Councillor Carey?
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory in the report. It's a well-written report, and we understand why they want it to happen. They say that if they redevelop their apartments in that unused space, it will help to generate livers, which will help their businesses. But my problem is with the basic philosophy that we're going to subsidize apartments to private people. I don't have a problem at Sylvia Place is that money's going to the common good of everyone. It's going to either be used for an entranceway, parking area, whatever, for everyone. My problem is giving this money as a grant to private businesses. That's the difference.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Bullerbrook.
Just to comment on that, there are a number of municipalities that do have grants for residential apartments, and like St. Catharines, it's in the report, they have 200 new apartment buildings in their downtown as a result of this grant application or the residential grant, which would do, I think, wonders for our downtown if we had that number of new apartments. But they did ask me if they felt they needed to be here tonight, and I saw it on the consent agenda, so I said it's on the consent agenda. You likely may not, get a chance to speak, and it's going to happen late at night. Excuse me. So I would like to see that happen.
Oh, I don't want to do this and not give them a chance.
Okay, fair
I'll
comment.
argue with them the same way I'm arguing with Mr.
Yeah, fair comment, Councillor. So we have motion for deferral, non-debatable, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, it's deferred. All right, thank you. Now we have a property matter. Is anybody here present with interest respecting to the property near the former Boys and Girls Club on Culp Street?
Mr. Mayor, I'm interested.
Did you want to come up to the microphone, sir? Please state your name and your address, sir.
Yeah, my name is Carlo Montemuro. I live at 6254 Gore Street, and I own land adjacent to the Boys Club. And when they started building the new Boys Club, or when they opened it, I wrote a letter to the city asking if there was some interest, but I never got an answer. So I am interested, but I'd like, I don't know what the city's, what your position is on it, or what price, or I'd like to, if there's a period of time, maybe 6 weeks, I could, present some program through my real estate agent.
That's you?
Yeah, William Rosa.
Okay, great. All right, well, you know what, well, then, Mr. Montemuro, we're going to ask our solicitor to comment on this.
Fine.
Yeah, Mr. Beeman.
Yes, as council, many councillors will be aware that we have a procedure for this, and we just simply, if Mr. Montemuro wants to make his written offer, we send it in. This is proper. What we're asking council to do today is declare the property surplus so that we can enter into negotiations with interested parties. Council has always entertained offer, any reasonable offer. Of course, when they're totally ridiculous, we don't bring them to you, but we get an appraisal and we bring offers to you. Try and, generally speaking, what staff will recommend if the price is at or over the appraised price that we receive. We're quite happy to receive any offers, and we'll happy to meet with the gentleman after the meeting to get their card and start things in motion.
Okay, so we're just about finished our meeting, so you guys can have a little powwow before we leave.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have a motion by Councillor Iannone, second by Councillor Carrio. Councillor Pietrangelo?
Yeah, and I think just to clarify, Your Worship, I mean, when you were asking for whether or not there was anyone present that had an interest in the matter, were you not asking for anyone that would be opposed to us selling it? Or
any interest at all?
Interested as well.
Yeah.
Could I ask then, Your Worship, I guess through you, maybe to Mr. Beeman, what the process would be after we declare it surplus? Are we then going to get an appraisal on it and then put it up for
Yes,
tender?
what we do is we list it on our list of available properties that is available on the website. It's the properties that council has declared surplus and are available for sale, and then we'll open any offers that are that come forward. So anyone who's interested can send a letter to the legal department, and we'll start talking with them. We get an appraisal, and then we bring the offers, which will hopefully the best one, to council.
Yeah, and just so that Mr. Montemuro and the public know as well, I mean, do we keep our appraisals confidential? I know we put them out there. I know we put them out there for the arena. That's why
it really depends.
We put up reserve bids for all of our surplus lands the last time that we did it.
We have,
that's why.
and sometimes I don't want to be. I can't say that we've been consistent one way or the other. And certainly, one of the things that makes it difficult for me, Councillor Pietrangelo, is the councillor beside you is not overly thrilled with the idea of revealing appraisals, because Councillor Gates has complained that he feels that's prejudicial to our negotiating position, and I respect him for making those observations and approaching me to make that point to me, which I think is a legitimate point for him to make. So I would
not want to state a firm position here in public, Councillor Pietrangelo, and I'm happy to speak with you about the issue, because I think to a certain extent our land use policies are a bit in transition at the moment, particularly as regards that issue, because Councillor Gates has raised it a couple of times now.
So would it be your position then that you would do an updated appraisal, because there is one in the report?
Yes, we would certainly do one, because once an appraisal is over 6 months old, the appraiser himself will not back it up.
Okay.
So at the very least, I have to go back to the appraisal and say, that's still good. I get an update. It's for a few bucks, and that way I know I've got a current value.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gates.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I certainly don't want to scare anybody off on the appraisal value, but it's already in our report. That was appraised in 2011 for $470,000. 370. Oh, 370, sorry.
You just scared him.
But I was actually was going to take a look at this, because I guess there's two ways that we could take a look at it. One is a demolition, and obviously that's something that's in the report as well. We may look at selling it as is, or doing a demolition on it, and go from there. So I was going to ask when you took a look at the appraisal value, what if you've done anything with demolition charges. But now that we've had somebody speak on it, it's not that I'll do that. But it's right in the report how much it was appraised in 2011.
Okay.
Yes, I'll have to take responsibility for that, and I would like to apologize particularly to Councillor Gates, because he has raised that with me, and I have to take responsibility for that.
Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, just for council's information, we do have I believe it's a request for quotation closing on June the 6th related to the demolition of the building. So we are getting that information.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion. We ready? Is there anything else? That's it? Okay. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. The bylaws. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional bylaws or bylaw amendments?
No, Your Worship.
All right. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Maves to give the bylaws first reading. All those in favor? Okay.
Bylaws 2012-34 to 2012-39 read a first time.
Second and third, Your Worship.
Okay. Motion by Councillor Pietrangelo for second and third reading of the bylaws, second by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor?
Bylaws 2012-34 to 2012-39 read a second and third time and passed.
New business. Councillor Thompson and Morocco.
I have just a couple of questions. First of all, you and I have been involved in discussions regarding the new Regency which opened, and there's a great new facility. They've had existing driveways there for 30, 40 years. There are concerns with respect to Department of Transport regarding the driveways. They had to close one off. They're in very difficult times there. And I know there's a meeting tomorrow. Dean wasn't able to go. Is Jeff going to go, or somebody else going to fill in for that?
I can give you an update. I did speak to Kevin Kelly today at the MTO,
yes.
And I asked him if he could change the date or the time of the meeting tomorrow. I told him I was unavailable, you were unavailable, our clerk was unavailable, and he said this meeting he didn't feel was necessary. It was more of an information sharing meeting.
Ooh, that scares the hell out of me. Huh?
Well, he felt that this was going to be more. I explained to him the situation, told him that we're very interested, that these guys have done an incredible job of upgrading the facility.
Anyway, it makes me feel that I just make a motion that as a council we support our staff doing whatever they can to expedite the situation for the new owners and operators of the Regency.
Yeah, and encourage everyone to go down and check it out. It's amazing what they've done down there. Moved by Councillor Thompson and second by Councillor Iononi that we, through our staff, support them to help them expedite the process of working with the MTO to move things forward. So we'll call that vote. All those in favor? Okay, thank you.
I don't know how this is, whether this has any validity, but I had some calls today indicating that some people were upset that Victoria Avenue was going to be closed in several areas or the entire length. in the tourist area on June the 15th. I told them that it had never been to council, had never been discussed here. They related it to the Walenda Walk. Is there any accuracy to that at all?
Maybe we can get Mr. Drent to comment on this. Some road closures for the
Yeah, with
Walenda?
respect to the road closures, we don't have an updated information on that yet, but the road closures themselves, we're leaving barricades throughout the area, and the police will make the decision on whether they're going to close roads or not. So it's out of our hands. We don't have jurisdiction over that. They will just pick up the barricades, block the roads, and start closing the roads. There is a plan in place to work towards closure from the inside, so down towards the park and then up towards the QEW.
Wow. We should be sending out a notice or telling people about it, because it's the first I heard of it, and I thought I was up to date and informed. And, you know, if they're not letting any traffic up and down Victoria Avenue, and I know this is a police matter, I've run into this before, where they have the authority just to go there and do it, but I think we got to send a signal to the Victoria Centre people to say, if this is happening, what the ramifications would be, and the least amount of obstruction should be the objective. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah,
okay.
I've never heard it. I didn't know.
Yeah. So it's a serious concern.
Yeah, I guess it would be similar to New Year's, that they close the roads as needed. So as crowds get out of hand, as vehicles get out of hand, they start closing the roads. And I think they're going to take the same approach. Nobody knows what the outcome of this is going to be yet. So we're sort of planning for the worst and hoping for the best. And by worst, I mean traffic. You know, the event is great, but it's trying to say, you know, how can we manage traffic appropriately? And we're in the works, and we're having discussions with the police, emergency services, our staff, through our special events coordinator, is working with everyone. And as soon as we have everything nailed down, we will back to council and give information to council, as well as the tourist sector.
So we don't have a meeting until, what, June the 12th? 13th?
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. You've been running too much. When is our next meeting? 13th? 12th? Okay. So that's a few days before the walk, which is doesn't give people much time. Anyway, at least the public has been alerted, and it could be a concern, and I'm sure we'll be discussing it at the BIA. I take my responsibilities here very seriously, and as I always have, and I like to be informed. And I think that two of the major decisions that are going to be made in the next year have to be the hospital issue and the governance at the region. And I commend you for your efforts with Dr. Smith, and also trying to get a meeting with Minister Matthews, which is going to tell whether the money is there or whether it's not there. And I applaud the medical fraternity for coming up with the comments that they support 2 hospitals subject to pediatrics and obstetrics being in both areas, which I thought was commendable and worthwhile. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that every other municipality in this region, particularly the ones that were vying for the hospital in the south end, all have active committees with community representation, medical representation, and political representation, along with staff. Everything I know about what's going on with the hospital, I read in the paper, and I don't always trust Peter Conradi with his comments. So I would always gone. So I'd like to be informed, and everybody else. I think we had a great committee before, and we were informed, and we had an impact. We reported back to council regularly, and I think that is absolutely essential if we're going to be up to date, if we're going to have an impact, that this is a council, and I appreciate Dr. Smith designating the mayors and the regional chair to make the decision, but that's not accurate. The councils in those areas make the decision, and the only way we can make a decision is to be informed and to be involved. So I implore the council that establish an appropriate committee to deal with this. If not, I think we're going to be uninformed, and we're not going to be effective. The same situation when the young man from St. Catharines came here a few weeks ago. The initial reaction is that, what are you doing here? You're trying to intrude on our territory and have an impact on what's happening with governance and try to talk us into something. I think he was legitimately trying to make us aware that they have a committee, they're interested, and I think for the first time, I don't think we're going to see one community. I don't think we're going to see a lot of amalgamation, but I've talked to numerous people, and there appears to be a desire to reducing and changing the representation at the region, even having people elected at the local level sit at the regional level. So there's a lot of very important issues that are being discussed, and I think also we should establish a committee to study this issue, to report regularly to the council, and it could be the council even in committee where we have it on the agenda on a regular basis to update, to have comments, to have input. But I think particularly with the hospital issue, the medical people that were on that committee were excellent, and the private sector people did an excellent job as volunteers. So I really like this to be considered very quickly, so we're not behind the eight ball with respect to these two major issues which there's going to be decisions on. So those are my comments, and hopefully we can get some reaction.
Well, on the first one, now, don't we already have a committee? We have a committee. We just, Councillor Iononi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. He thinks I have the power to call a committee meeting. I have no problem chairing it. I have no problem calling back the same people that we had there. I don't think we need a whole committee of council. If we're going to use the existing committee, and we had a representation of council and the public, I have no problem chairing that with the motion at council, but I cannot just call a committee meeting without the authority of council. And that, I mean, you and I have had that discussion.
Well, in all fairness, that was a committee that existed in a previous administration, so I think it's up to you to give some direction to say it's appropriate for her, or I would make a motion that
why don't we do that?
Councillor Iononi reestablish the committee and get it going again, and report back to council on a regular basis.
Okay, we have a motion and a seconder to reestablish the committee. Is there any discussion to the motion? Okay, then we'll call the vote. All those in favor? I'm sorry, Councilor Morocco.
Yeah. So this is an existing committee, or this is a new committee because it's a new issue?
Well, it was called the HIT committee, I think, before, was it?
It was a sanctioning committee of council. It's the hospital committee.
So because it's a new issue, is there an opportunity for some of the newer councillors or other people to actually come forward to come on?
Well, this is it's the council's
No, because they just said to reform the existing committee, so I just wondered.
Which has 3 members of council.
We've got 3 right now. Oh, yeah, that's right. There'd be myself and Councillor Thompson, Councillor Iononi.
Actually, Councillor Peter-Angelo was appointed after the last year, so we have 4 existing councillors.
So if we have one more, then we are in contravention of our. Are we having some issues with our clerk in official meetings?
Well, you should be conducting your meetings in an open forum to begin with, and you should be advertising those meetings. I mean, you know, I'm not going to get into semantics. That wasn't an advisory committee of council, in my opinion. What it was a committee of the community in which council members participated. That's the difference, in my opinion. Big difference. Now, if you're talking about doing some sort of council-related committee, then yes, you have to follow those requirements under the Municipal Act as far as advertising the committee meetings, having them open to the public, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Ioannoni?
Then, through you to the clerk, can we not go back to the original motion that created a community committee with council on it and just reaffirm the first motion? We haven't officially disbanded. You're just giving me authority to call a committee meeting.
Right, but the
And
issue...
by the way, there was never 4 of us at one time in that committee anyway, because at some point somebody couldn't make it. If I couldn't make it, I handed the chair off. If Jim couldn't make it, there was never 4 in there anyway, hence why we had 4. But can we not just make a motion that then says to just continue the already approved committee? Because I really don't want to go through the having to advertise, having to have a public... Council was updated the entire time. Like, were we wrong in how we did it? Because I don't want to do it wrong.
No, I'm not saying you were wrong in how you did it, but you just heard from Councillor Morocco talking about more members on the committee. Then once you get into 4, 5 members of committee, that changes the animal altogether.
Then why don't we tighten up the reporting structure to council so that they're always informed? We did take loose minutes in those meetings. Nothing was ever voted on in those meetings that wasn't supported by this. I don't think we ever had a vote in that meeting. Everything came to council, and council voted the direction of that committee. So if we follow that same structure and keep council informed after every meeting, would that make everybody happy? I just want to make sure everybody's informed all across the board.
Go ahead.
It works.
Mr. Clerk?
Well, I mean, you'd make me happy if I didn't have to be involved with it. So in that sense, yes. And I'm only being slightly facetious in that. I mean, you know, usually when it's an advisory committee to council, there is a role and responsibility of staff. You know, we're involved with the mechanism, you know, the setting up those meetings, advertising those meetings, those sort of things. And I was always very adamant on that committee from last council term that that was a community committee, and you were there in your auspices as council members because you are leaders of the committee. Now, if you want to take that into the council realm, there's a whole different ball of wax, but my recommendation to you would be if you want to keep it as is, you keep it at 3 members.
Councillor Gates?
Well, that's a very interesting concept because I guess with myself personally on healthcare, if there's going to be any kind of committee that's being formed from this council, I'm certainly not going to be on the outside looking in. I've been talking on healthcare for a number of years. So I'm not going to have somebody tell me that if it's going to affect the city of Niagara Falls or quite frankly the Niagara region, that I wouldn't sit on the committee. So if that meant there was 4 or 5 people from the council, then I guess I have to take another look at it. But having said that, I think to Councillor Thompson's point, I think there is actually a pretty tight time frame around where we're going to head on the hospital. Whether we agree with what's going on and whether it's a backdoor to get the hospital improvement plan implemented is a whole different issue. But I guess Mayor Diedad, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there seems to be a timeline to this. It was my understanding this week, which maybe be a good time to do a report on, that you met with the health minister this week in Queen's Park, and obviously you had a lot of dialogue with her on exactly some commitments to Niagara South. I guess Niagara Falls is in the south now. There's a big issue around that as well. But at the end of the day, maybe if you give us a report, and I think if we're going to do anything, we have to take a look at who's going to speak for us at council. And quite frankly, Mayor Diedad, I've been listening to you on CKTV almost every day. They're quoting you on the Review, Niagara This Week, Bullet Media. I think you're doing an exceptional job on highlighting the importance of how we go forward with healthcare and some of the things that may or may not have to leave our community. I just think that I think the way we've been doing it right now, you seem to be the spokesperson, quite frankly, for the entire South Niagara. That's what I'm seeing. They're going to you and talking to you. So I'm not so sure we need a committee at this point in time. I think what we should do is continue to support the efforts that you're doing. Continue to, if we have issues, we can call you and raise them with you, like I have over the last couple of weeks on some of the issues. But setting up another committee, I would say that I would think most of the council members would want to sit on it, particularly some of the new councillors, and particularly the amount of time that I put into healthcare. I'd certainly want to sit on the file, but I would think that as a councillor of Niagara Falls, I'm quite content to allow you to continue to do what you're doing. Mayor Diodati, I think it's been nothing but exceptional work fighting for the residents of Niagara, not just Niagara Falls, but I think all of Niagara. I think you're doing a great job, and I'd like to see you just continue it. I guess on a go-for-it basis, come July or something like that, if we have other issues, then maybe we can look at it as a council and say, okay, what do we have to do to proceed? But my understanding, please give us a report, because I think there's a tight time frame on where we're heading here, because I think Dr. Smith's report sometime in June, early July. So maybe you can enlighten us on that as well.
Yeah. Well, just a point of order. First of all, nobody was suggesting that you're not the head of the community and a spokesperson for the community. That doesn't mean that the rest of us aren't involved in trying to make the decisions here. So I don't know how we got off on a tangent like that, but you're doing your thing. We commend you for that, but we also have a responsibility, and I personally don't want to be left out in the wide blue yonder with respect to this.
Hey, anytime Councillor Gates wants to throw a compliment my way, he can have the floor. Okay. I'll give you a quick update, and whatever the will of this council, yes, Councillor Gates is bang on that we've got a tight timeline. Actually, I was speaking with Dr. Smith today about where we're at. We've got about 2 weeks, unless we ask for an extension. What they've done, they've mandated that the 6 mayors of Niagara South get together, get in a room, and lock the door until we come up with a location. And we had EMS in the other day. It's becoming very evident, preferred locations, or as they call it, the sweet spot. So yesterday through the region, as I mentioned earlier, it's Niagara Week, and we had our Niagara Regional meeting with Minister Matthews, Minister of Health, along with other mayors and regional councillors and regional staff. And one of the issues we talked about was the hospital. And we asked Minister Matthews, are you behind this? If we're putting all this effort into this, are you going to support it, or are you going to build it, will you give us a timeline? And they are behind it, however, they won't speak to it at all until we're done this process. She said they have the 6 mayors with the regional chair, and they're going to be doing surveys. They've commissioned a company to do surveys of residents. They're not going to even comment on the file until that stage. She did reiterate the fact that it would be time. It wouldn't be a short period, because it's Minister of Infrastructure, Minister of Finance, Minister of Health, number of ministries that will have to come together on this file. But we made it real clear that you need to be behind this. And she said, you first have to get through your process, then we'll get involved. The next step we mentioned, which comes from this council's direct motion, and I took this directly to her, and you're happy to know there was a complete buy-in from the rest of Niagara South, the other 5 mayors, that we will not, and the doctors, we will not support a consolidation or removal of our services, specifically Mat Child, which is pediatrics and gynecology and OBGYN. We will not support a move until it's into the new Niagara South Hospital. And I said, I used the example, I said to the minister, I said, Minister, it's like if you were building a new home, you had a grand piano or you had a big pool table, you wouldn't move it into your temporary house while you're building your new house, would you? And I said, so let's move it once, if at all. So she said, okay, thank you. There was no debate on it, there was no discussion, no opposition to it. I said, we're unanimous on it, and that's a non-starter. So we were very blunt, couldn't have been more blunt with her. So that's what was discussed, and of course, like as typical, they're like, well, Minister, we have to go, and they rushed them out of the meeting, and then you can't continue on with the conversation. And you're right, in regard to the committee, in Port Colborne, they formed a corporation with some doctors and healthcare people. You know, each community is doing something slightly different. But I will tell you, one thing of interest, you know, right away, I went to our economic development officer, and they quickly put together parcels of land in the Lions Creek QEW area. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to be a very positive location that we've submitted on behalf of Niagara Falls, the general area. We have hundreds of acres from different landowners that has been assembled, because the mandates and the requirements that Dr. Smith said where it has to be near the biggest amount of population density, which Niagara Falls is the #2 population density city in the region. He said, we want to look at population growth. Niagara Falls is slated at the regional forecast to the year 2031 to be the fastest growing municipality by far, followed by Fort Erie, so that would serve us well in both areas. They said it has to be near a major arterial road. Well, the QEW is right there. Ironically, the demographic center of the region is just slightly southwest of that intersection. I said, although you don't build hospitals for tourists, you have to account for them, and we've got upwards of 12 million tourists coming every year. I said that has to be factored in. The other advantage of that area, it's within the urban boundary, it's fully serviced, and Mayor Martin from Fort Erie has gone on record as supporting that is the place. And the other day we had the EMS in, they did a bunch of map overlays, and they identified their sweet spot. I won't speak for them, but what I will say is it's very favorable for this location. So what I said was, I said now they're looking at one hospital, one urgent care center. So I said, well, if Niagara Falls gets the hospital, I'm guessing Welland's going to get the urgent care center. I said if it went the other way, but looking at land mass, volume of population growth, density, I'll tell you, we're at the front of the pack with our location. So we are the first ones to submit a full binder on all locations. We've already submitted them saying, here's a starter right off the get-go. And there's a lot of support around the region as well. That makes a lot of sense because you've got a northwest hospital in St. Catharines, and you'll have a southeast hospital in Niagara Falls. So we're making the argument. And as well, I'm happy to have the support of our committee with the doctors and the business people in the community. Love to have the support in the direction. But that direction of keeping Matt Child in our hospital until we build a new one came directly from this council. So you should know that this is a direction of this council. Yes, Councillor Ainoli.
Well, just so that we lay Councillor Gates' concerns, not all of us can be the spokesperson for everything. So we funneled everybody's comments through that committee, and the spokesperson really rotated. It depended on who the media could get that day. At that point in time, we had a mayor that did not support our position, so he didn't speak for us. But we're very respectful to how the hierarchy here goes. It would be presented at this council, it would be voted on at this council, and it would be streamed through you. You and I worked really well through that whole process, going from the former mayor to you and how we worked that reporting process. So if you had a problem with the way they did it, I'm sure you would have told me. But we all can't be in on everything. Doesn't mean we disrespect the other person's point of view. It's just not everything happens like that. So if you liked the way the committee works, I'm sure they'd like the support again. The reporting structure will follow the respect that your office holds. We didn't have that possibility the last time. We worked at odds.
Okay, so I don't even remember where we are, Mr. Clerk. Where are we at with our motion? Jim. Was there a motion or there was no motion?
Committee's already in existence, I have no problem.
Okay.
Well, reestablish the committee, yeah, there was a motion.
There was a motion. Okay, there's a motion. Reestablish the committee. And currently, now, how do we address the concerns of, what are you smirking about? We've got to get involved. Oh, but it's a fair comment. How do we address, I mean, Councillor Gates has been actively involved in this file all around the region. So, Councillor Ainoli?
But not on this council, and it does not prohibit Councillor Gates from speaking his position. We're all speaking from the same thing. I will say this. You were not mayor then. We called meetings on the fly. If you cannot come, Vic's the alternative, and Vic comes. I believe we'll see Vic more because your time is allotted 24/7. So the reality is you're still going to be the spokesperson. My guess is you're going to need an alternate for you anyway. At that point, we didn't have to work around a mayor's schedule, correct?
Yes. Councillor, or Mr. Clerk?
Well, one small thing, I'm not really sure what the committee's going to do at this time. Last time you had a focus, which was to, pick holes in the hospital improvement plan, for want of a better word. So I don't know. So I don't know what the purpose. I understand where Councillor Thompson's coming from, wanting to ensure that the council's engaged, that they're fully participating, but I'm not really sure what you're going to do, for example, at the first meeting.
Well, very quickly, we could have, if we had heard what I've heard here tonight at the committee meeting, we would have been a hell of a lot further ahead. We had no idea what's going on. Where's the report? Does the council have the opportunity to see the report? What would we do? That's what we would do.
Councilor Morocco?
Just to the point, I just wanted to say, as long as we're getting information, and I support what Councillor Thompson's saying, and I'm not sure about the committee, and that was a committee that actually focused on the HIP program. This is a whole new focus about a new hospital. As long as you can provide us with an update all the time instead of listening or reading it in the bullet media or the review, whatever, I think that's where we're going. We just want to know prior to anybody else, because I have to tell you, I get a call from a reporter, and I'm being asked questions pertaining to, do you think you're going to get the money because you haven't got it for your community health center in a top format 4 years later? I just want to know before I have to read in the paper. So I appreciate, and I think that you can do the job just well on your own and just bring it back to us. I appreciate that. That's all I'm looking for. So.
And believe me, everything that I get, I take from this council. I mean, this isn't just all my ideas. These are motions from this council and direction from this council. And because I want to know moving forward, this is how we all feel. And as well, I've consulted with the healthcare practitioners. I get regular calls from the head of the Niagara Falls Medical Society and updates. But this latest update that I just shared with you regarding Minister Matthews was just from yesterday morning. We just met with her yesterday morning. This is like fresh off the press, So, yeah, Councillor Maves?
Your Worship, but you mentioned some properties and that we've submitted. How soon will council know about these properties and where they are located? In case we're asked, we obviously want to know.
Well, what we did was, this is informal, but we assembled a listing of all the different property owners in that Lions Creek, Queen Elizabeth Way. We assembled them all into a booklet, into a binder to show, okay, here's 35 acres, here's 80 acres, here's 60 acres, here's 25 acres, here's who owns it, here's the services, here, like all the particulars on each parcel. We just wanted to show, because the current hospital is on around 30 acres, so we wanted to show we have plenty of acreage well within the urban boundary. And expansion, the advantage we have over St. Catharines for medical malls, clinics, doctors' offices. We have a lot more space, and the Niagara Falls is going to grow significantly south, so we're not landlocked like the other hospitals. So we just wanted to show that we wanted to be considered, and here's a bunch of sites. We just jumped out ahead right away. Serge Fellow said he got on it right away. He had his staff put this together immediately. And I mean, this is not a formal submission. It's informal, but it's just to show we're serious and we got the land and keep us on the top of the list.
No, just on that point too, as far as that's concerned, then would that mean expropriation of some lands?
It wouldn't need to, because there's enough landowners out there that are willing and interested in participating in something like this. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of land available. Believe me, a lot of anxious landowners that would love to have something like this on their property. Okay, so we've got the motion. What's the motion? Can you read the motion? I don't remember.
Reestablish the committee.
Okay, we have a motion to reestablish the committee. Call the vote then. All those in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed. Okay. All right. It passes.
Who's the other opposed?
I think Joyce. Part of it? Opposed again? Yeah, Joyce and Wayne.
Yeah,
okay. Councillor Morocco, new business?
Just quickly. I'll make this really quick. And it's an email that I got actually a week ago. I sent it over to staff, and I think, Dean, you're going to follow up with it. Gentlemen in Chippewa and a number of residents there at the boathouse, the Tim Hortons across the street, they draw a number of Harleys. No concern about. There's a lot of nice bikes, he said, out in the area. He's a retired police officer. I won't get into his names and whatever. But he said that some areas have a Highway Traffic Act against these allowed bafflers, the straight pipes on some of these bikes. And is there any bylaw in the city? And I have to say it couldn't be at a worse time, too, because we're actually going to be hosting this huge motorcycle show in Niagara. But actually, I didn't get back to him right away, and I had like 6 other people email me and ask what was the delayed response. So anyway, if you could maybe just follow up and let me know if there's a bylaw in the city or the police take care of this issue about loud motorcycles ripping through the streets on Main Street in Chippewa.
Well, I believe I sent you an email response on that. I can dig it up. Fact of the matter is, bylaw would not get involved with moving motorcycles. We don't have that authority. There is a provision under the Highway Traffic Act, which it's very vaguely worded, that says that if any moving vehicle causes undue noise, it could be prosecuted. So, I mean, that is really a police matter. we do have a noise bylaw, but I would not suggest that the noise bylaw would be related to motorcycles, because motorcycles are transient. It'd be one thing if your neighbor regularly revved up his motorcycle in his driveway on a regular, frequent basis, and you could document that, and we could have evidence and lay charges under our noise bylaw. But I will resend that email to you, Councillor Morocco, and really it has to be the police that would lay charges on that.
Okay, good, because he just wanted to know what my response was, as well as the rest of council. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pietrangelo? Yes.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just one item, actually, and I should be pretty quick. Probably last year when we started to deal with the Optimist Club, we started to get different people say to us things about the city actually giving the Optimist Club money, and what happens to that commitment that we made to the Optimist Club. I mean, I have no interest in talking bad about the Optimist Club, but I'd rather move forward on the issue and see if I can get a report from staff that would deal, I guess, with the safeguard of taxpayers' money. And what I'm speaking in specific about, Your Worship, is a lot of times we give out grants, whether it's for programming or in a number of instances we've given out grants for actual buildings. And in my opinion, we don't have any safeguard in place. That organization can then turn around and sell that building, and the city isn't in a position to collect any of the money that we've given them. So I guess, Your Worship, I'm just wondering if, because we have a lot of organizations out there that we do give money to, whether or not city staff would feel it would be appropriate to put those type of safeguards, because it is taxpayers' money at the end of the day, in place, and perhaps we can get a report back from staff, and I would so move that, Your Worship.
Okay, are we looking at Mr. Beeman for something like this?
I don't know, Your Worship.
What do we ask him?
We can, going forward, there are certainly many grants, as Councillor Pietrangelo has observed, that have no strings attached to them. There have been some arrangements which have been made, and we can report on those and describe them. Just to remind Council has taken as arranged sort of more of what we call reducing liens on some of the properties. On some of the monies that have advanced, for instance, the Humane Society has that on their building. And actually, on the Optimist, there is actually a mortgage, which we'll be collecting on when the sale of the property takes place, for some monies that Council did lend the Optimist. Is that good?
I'd still like to make a motion.
Okay, we're certainly going to deliver a report.
Okay, so motion by Councillor Pietrangelo for that report, second by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? Okay. Okay. Any other? I've got one item too I'd like to bring up. That's okay. Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I just I asked the clerk to bring in a report on governance and where we should be going for a subsequent meeting, just so we can get informed on that, because it's going to be a debate. I'd make a motion.
And you're talking governance at the region and city, how they can be like the dual role councillors kind of thing that's proposed?
With the debate that's going on at the region now, and all the municipalities suggesting how they think the region should be governed in the future.
So we'll get the clerk to get on that.
Boy, you know.
All right, we've got a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannone, that we put together a report on governance models and options, the new movement happening at the region. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Two items. One, I don't know if we can ask the clerk just to comment on, we've received a lot of calls and emails regarding tall grass on hydrolands. And just wondered if maybe you could once and for all just kind of tell us what's going on and we can put it to bed. Hopefully.
It's May, grass grows big. That's about what I can tell you.
It's almost June.
Yeah, it's almost June. I actually was reading an article in the Buffalo Evening News, of all places, a few days ago, and it talked about the same situation in Buffalo. And I think we've got a couple of issues here. One is an environmental issue. You had a very warm winter, which meant that grass started growing in March, And because in April the land is still soft, it did not make sense to go out and cut, whether it's private contractors, whether it's your own home, or whether it's hydro. So I think a lot of properties are behind the 8 ball at the end of May because of that reason alone. Hydro, as far as I know, have a new contractor this year in the area. I don't know if that is a reason why they seem to be behind. I can only surmise on that, but I do know that the company that had been the contractor for decades no longer has that contract. As a public entity, they had an open bidding process, and low tender got the contract for this year, so I'm not sure if there's a learning curve there or not. I can tell you that we are forwarding every single one of these complaints related to a hydro property directly to Hydro One. We have a contact there, and we've been forwarding them, although I'm starting to get as frustrated as you are because I have not seen any results yet of any of that forwarding. The woman who I've been dealing with at Hydro One has assured me she's going to be providing me with some information tomorrow, and she asks for the public's patience on this. I did see a correspondence today which Hydro has distributed, which is kind of somewhat, I wouldn't say bizarre, but it doesn't even come on real Hydro letterhead. And it basically says that if you have a concern with conditions on Hydro One transmission corridors, such as high grass or dumping, please call 1-888-664-9376. Now, the one caveat they mention, and this is accurate, is that although it's a hydro corridor, there may be situations where they have licensees. City of Niagara Falls is a perfect example, although I sent them pictures of the hydro corridor near Don Johnson Park, and I showed them that we had cut our property, and right near Ross Perone's place at the bakery, they did a little hatch around the perimeter, but didn't cut anything in between. And I said, look, that's the standard we expect in Niagara Falls, which we've done across the street at our part of your corridor. This is what we expect on the other side. So what this correspondence actually does is it asks them to call the municipality to confirm that it's their hydro corridor. And in fairness, that's exactly what we're doing. We are getting those complaints. Anna in bylaw is checking to ensure that, yes, indeed, it's Ontario Hydro property, and we're sending them off. I've asked the contact to give me, like, an update on a daily basis saying we've cut these properties, so there's some evidence that they've done something. I did notice that on Kaler Road, where I live, the hydro corridor seemed to be cut. I don't know if that's coincidence or not. I think it's a fluke, but a good example, one that was in Mr. Conradi's article or column a week and a half ago was about Coach and Dorchester, and I went by there today. Actually, I went this afternoon. I drove around and looked at all of these complaints we've had, and I haven't seen any of the properties cut. That corridor from Coach to Dorchester is cut towards the west end of the corridor, but that corner right at Dorchester and Coach still remains uncut, other than this weird perimeter around, it looks like crop circles almost. So, yes, I know that staff is getting a little bit frustrated with this. I've tried to assure staff, because Hydro One is a public entity, we like to work amicably with them. I don't believe we're at the point of, playing hardball and maybe sending in city contractors and billing them. I know that has been done in other municipalities, but I'm just hopeful that we start to see some improvement in the next few days. We appreciate the public's patience. Feel free to call us. I mean, we do have a number of these complaints already, so, we see it as well. So I don't think we've missed any of these hydro corridors. I mean, some of the ones, last week there's the little property there off of Vine Street in Portage behind the variety stores. For some reason, we keep telling them about that. We still haven't seen it cut yet. So it is very, very frustrating, but we'll continue to work with Ontario Hydro.
For clarity, they should call the clerk's office, not the mayor's office, right, Mr. Clerk?
Well,
in fairness, they should call our bylaw division. I mean, we do get, I mean, we are inundated right now with not just obviously hydro corridors, but also obviously private lots that we get calls at this time of year as well. You know, in one sense, I'd like people to be patient and realize, hey, it's just May. I know it's almost the end of May. Usually by middle of June, these things start to slow down as far as how the grass is growing and compliance as far as the tall grass.
That's right. And one other thing was brought to my attention by a local sports organizer, that there's a tournament that the City of Niagara Falls, along with the region, should consider going after. It's the World Rec League World Championships for 2016. This would involve, it's actually quite interesting, it would be 2,700 teams, all ages, all levels of skill from all over the world, and it happens only in 4 days. They play 24 hours around the clock. They would need 6 ice surfaces, and the economic impact of 2,700 teams, I can't even imagine. And yet it's only 4 days, 6 ice surfaces, round the clock, 24 hours. So it was suggested that we, through our Recreation and Culture Department and our Recreation Committee, organize a bid to look at going after this tournament, and they would love to be volunteers on this committee to make it a reality, because they think it could be huge. So, do you need a motion? Yes, that's why I was wondering if we can get a motion. Okay, we got a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo and seconded by Councillor Carrio, that through our Recreation and Culture Department and our Recreation Committee, we put together a bid committee to look at the World Recreation League World Championships for 2016 and look at the idea of bidding on that. Okay, so we have a motion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion for adjournment. Second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor?